97.5, The Fanatic. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas. This is Kincade and Salciunas. 97.5, The Fanatic, and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Hey, John, happy Sports Day.
It's the most important sports day of our lifetime.
It is a big sports day today.
We're all over it.
And we're going to talk about some positives. Of course, we're still going to talk about some negatives. But it is a sports day on Kincade and Salciunas right here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
This is Kincade and Salciunas.
The sports eagle god that is Saquon Barkley, floating like an angel. Like, it was unbelievable what he was able to do yesterday.
And for some reason, Nick Sirianni continues to do it. He makes the easy stuff hard.
Kincade and Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Tuesday morning, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salciunas alongside my man, John Kincade. Johnny, good morning. Happy Tuesday.
A good morning to you on this Tuesday morning, and it felt warm again outside.
Yeah, except for Connor Thomas.
Connor says it's not. It felt warm again, like
little baby.
Really a little bit of a...
It was foggy this morning for me.
Oh, my gosh.
A little rough morning driving through the neighborhood, making sure there was no kids running around at 4:30 in the morning.
Well,
so
you know what it was the deers are out running. I navigated 5 different deer all over, like literally 3 of them in the road where I had to, come on.
They like the mist.
Let's go. Yeah, I think it's more than that.
Feels good on their fur, man.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things on their fur they're worried about.
Damn right.
It's rutting season. Be careful.
So that open that you just heard is basically a perfect lead into today's show. And Connor knows I don't really care about the open all that much, but today I do. Because it was perfect, John.
It was perfect,
I think.
Great work.
Split down the middle. The first half was me talking about the beauty of Saquon Barkley's backwards hurdle. The second half of the open was you talking about Nick Sirianni and always finding ways to make things hard. In our first segment today, we're going to talk a little bit about both, Johnny.
A little both.
But what we want to do today, as today is a big day, we want to start with positives, okay?
Sure.
Because I think that's something that a lot of people might need on this Tuesday, November the 5th, in the calendar year of 2024.
Let's give it some positives.
Let's start with positives.
Because we both wanted to, like, as we plan a show, we both wanted to hit on a lot more of these yesterday. It wasn't the top story of the day.
We couldn't, and that's what sucks, that Nick Sirianni now in 2 wins this season has made the story about himself. Not that the Browns win was a game that we were going to completely celebrate, but we started to see Jalen Hurts look a little bit more like himself in 2022. That was the beginning of the now 4-week stretch where he has not turned the football over, right? So he looked good in that Cleveland Browns game.
Correct.
And in that game, we were just looking for something, some sort of beacon of hope, some sort of light to say, all right, Jalen Hurts is returning to form. But unfortunately, the story was Nick Sirianni's coaching decisions, and then, of course, him yelling on the sideline, the shaved head, and the press conference with the children. So yesterday, it was more Nick Sirianni, not to the level of the Browns game, because the Browns game was not just about coaching decisions, but also personal life decisions of his. But yesterday had a lot to do with his decision-making, and it led to a more, not depressing show, but a more contentious show that we didn't want to have because that game was freaking brilliant by the Philadelphia Eagles. I said it at one point during the show yesterday. I was proud of the 53-man roster on Sunday. Not the coach, but the 53-man roster I was very proud of. So let's start there. The positives, and it's not just from the game. You posed a question to me. You sent it to me yesterday, and I love it. And it's whether or not you feel better this year at this time than you did last year. Can you please explain to
Something
the people?
came up, a emailer had said to me the idea, it sort of gave the question idea. From last year, you kept saying to people, but they're not playing that well, but taking issues with it. And he said, even though you weren't predicting the decline, that they were going to fall all apart, it ended up happening. And he asked me how I feel. So I'm thinking about it on the way home yesterday, and I'm looking at it, and I'm going, I feel better about this team at 6-2 than I did last year about the Eagles at 7-1.
I love hearing that.
I feel better because One thing I feel really good about is that I love watching young players get a chance to show what they can do. And I see this year's roster as one of upside. And I have answers on Nakobe Dean. I have an answer on Nakobe Dean now. I think Nakobe Dean looks like he belongs.
Right.
I have an answer on Nolan Smith. That Nolan Smith looks like he can be a situational piece at worst. Mm-hmm. At worst, he'll be that. That Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis absolutely belong in a starting lineup for a team that can win big in the NFL. I feel better. The draft picks coming in a first rounder and a second rounder, coming in and playing in the secondary. I feel better about the coordinators that are here. So even though the record is worse by one game, I feel far better about this team than I did last year.
And I love hearing that. And
far better.
I want to say I agree with you, but I also do wonder how much of it is in the moment compared to last year.
How close are you to? I mean, like, how close are you just gut instinct before you get into that? How close are you gut instinct to say, I feel like what John feels?
I think it's pretty close, but again, it's in the moment. I've watched Saquon Barkley be the best player in the world and do something that I've never seen in my life with that backwards hurdle. And that I don't think that was some sort of anomaly. Like, Saquon Barkley's probably going to run for over 100 yards this weekend, too.
I mean, he's on my – Saquon Barkley in the next 2 weeks is probably going to eclipse DeAndre Swift.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I mean, like, there's so much – to me, there's so much better this year, but the record's one game worse.
Right. So I'm not taking the side just to take the side, but I am going to say that I was proud. If I were to think back, I have to ignore the collapse, right? Like I have to.
No, you must. No,
I
you
have
got
to
to take
forget
that
the
out.
collapse.
Got to take it out of your head.
I will say this time last year, despite the games not being pretty, like we have now seen 3 straight. I'd say Sunday's game was pretty from the player standpoint.
From the player standpoint,
I've seen 3 straight pretty games, and I didn't see many pretty games up until this point last year. The Dolphins win was a pretty game. I thought the Rams game was actually a pretty win. And the game against the Vikings, despite it being a one-score game, that offense looked pretty good. I will say I felt better last year at this time because a lot of it had to do with it was coming off of a Super Bowl. And everybody was worried about this Super Bowl hangover, and the Eagles were winning games, right? Like they only lost 1 game up until this point last year. I still believed in the mold of this team. I believed in veteran leadership. Again, I have to ignore everything that happened. So I believed in the leadership of Jason Kelce and Fletcher Cox. I was a fan of bringing back Darius Slay and James Bradbury as my 2 corners, and up until that point, they weren't abysmal. They're really the only bad game for the secondary, in my opinion, last year, up until this point, was that Commanders game.
Commanders game was terrible.
It should not have gone into overtime.
Both Commanders games ended up being ugly.
Yes. I will say this time last year, feeling better, but this time this year, arrow is pointing up.
Do you feel better? And I would just ask you, and I want you and Connor to both vote on this a little bit. By the way, we got to change the monitors because we look like Philly sports tonight. I just noticed that. Do you feel better about the secondary this year or last year?
Oh, I absolutely feel better about it this year because of the youth and the upside.
Okay, do you feel better about the linebacking core than this year or last year?
This year, not even close.
I would say you probably felt better about last year's pass rush.
Yes.
Do you feel better about linebacker?
Yes.
I'm sorry, a running back.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God, yeah.
I mean, a wash at wide receiver.
But I'm trying to go back to
you feel better about Jalen Hurts?
Yeah. Over the last couple games. I'm trying to go back to where I was at.
No, but do you feel better
mentally.
about Jalen Hurts than you did last year, though? Jalen Hurts is the one that I'd say I probably feel worse about Jalen Hurts this year than I did last year.
Not over the last 4 games, though.
No. It's been a nice trend, and I say that. He's turning that around.
Right.
But last year I was still very much riding high with my doubts of Jalen were very low.
Right.
Very low.
Now,
and they still aren't high.
So to answer your question, do I feel better this time this year or last year? If I can think back hard enough and forget about everything that transpired, I would probably say I felt better this time last year than I do this year. However, I think this team has more of an upside than last year's team, and it goes back to what we've been saying since week 1 that the defense has it. The defense has upside. Like, I'm expecting still a growing pain game from Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. And every week I go to see, maybe this is going to be the week where they have a growing pain game. They don't. They play very well. Last year's defense was last year's defense. At some point, the wheels were going to fall off, and we saw that happen. So, upside for this year's team is definitely higher than last year's team. Connor, where are you at on this conversation? Because it's hard to subtract your brain of what you happened.
You got to be objective and take the collapse of last year out of your head.
Right.
But you brought up an interesting thing is that last year you were still riding the high of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so
appearance.
And they kept on winning games. And my reason, I remember doing the whole show. I was doing middays at the time. I
used to listen.
Thank you. I kept on saying, yeah, they don't look great. But good teams find ways to win. The best teams find ways to win. And they kept finding ways to win. No matter how ugly it was. That meme that would go out there like, oh, I'm so excited for the Eagles game. Oh, I want to,
kill myself
KMS,
or whatever.
And they won. Yeah. Like, that meme was literally perfect for the Eagles season last year. We've been able to get away with that post recently.
Yeah, and we've been able to get away with that a couple times this year, too, mainly because of the head coach. So it's so tough to evaluate, right? Because your Super Bowl point is great. Them coming off the Super Bowl and being, where they were, 7-1 at this point last year through this many games, it's just like, oh, okay. Well, they're just a monster team that's going to keep winning. Very similar to what we saw Kansas City do on Monday Night Football last night.
Yeah, they looked great. No. But they're undefeated.
Exactly. And that was so riding the high of the Super Bowl appearance, you still believed like Hurts was the guy, Sirianni can get you there, all of this stuff. That makes you feel like last year. You brought up the Saquon stuff that he's doing right now, John. Like, we were in the midst of the A.J. Brown 125-plus yard receiving streak.
The greatest receiver streak we'd seen in franchise history.
Right. So they had a skill position player doing that last year. But I fight myself on that because I knew at this point last year that Brian Johnson and Sean Desai were not top-of-the-line coordinators. And I think Vic Fangio absolutely is. And I think Kellen Moore, with the right opportunity, is a plus. I don't know where his ceiling is with Nick Sirianni in the equation, but the coaching staff is so much better. And the defense has clearly got a higher ceiling. So, to me, it is like razor thin, the margin between where I felt last year and where I felt this year. And that's what makes it such a good question.
I think you were doing Philly Sports Tonight.
I was, yes.
By this time last year, and you had moved off of being with us in the morning. And I honestly, I wish I could go back because I don't save them all. The emails that I would get.
Yeah.
I can go back and see the tweets and just people be like, oh my gosh, they're 8-1. For God's sakes, what are you seeing? And I'm just like, I don't see a really good football. I see a football team that's good, but they're scraping by, and I'm not wondering whether it's sustainable.
Right. So what I'm going to do, just so I don't sit on the fence, I'm going to side with Andrew on last year simply because I think that Super Bowl appearance and then going into a 7-1 start, there was no way that I had the reservations that I have now about this team.
I also didn't want to fire the head coach yet, right? Like legitimately going into this season did not want him to return, and he's been a headache for a lot of the games so far this year. But arrow pointing up more for this year's team than last year's team, and a lot of it has to do with the youth movement. So question one is, do you feel better this time this year than you did last year, or did you feel better last year at this time? But then the follow-up is, what do you love so much about this year's team compared to last year's team, right? You mentioned Saquon Barkley versus DeAndre Swift. Like,
well, I mean, that's huge.
That's not even close, right? I still don't understand why the Bears paid him as much as he did, and I know he's having a decent season this year. Saquon Barkley is worlds better than DeAndre Swift, respectfully to the local kid in DeAndre Swift.
And the secondary, to me.
It's not even close,
I'm looking at last year, we weren't able to get, because of injury, we weren't able to get Nakobe Dean to make an impact. We had spare parts at linebacker.
Yeah.
We have two dynamic young players in the secondary. And I don't know if you saw it. I saw it on John Clark's coverage from NBC Sports Philadelphia. Quinyon Mitchell, I swear, I always say you're the oldest 30-year-old I've ever met.
Yeah.
That he is, Quinyon Mitchell, he seems like he's a 10-year vet.
Oh, my God, yeah. You think he's in his prime.
He's so deliberate and so non-pulsed, like he just doesn't even, the way he goes about his business.
And that's in front of a camera. That's the way he is on the field,
oh my
too,
gosh.
It seems. Like, he talks smack, which I love, but, like, you don't see him jumping on double moves. Or like the guy's playing like a vet.
And Cooper DeJean looks like he should be like starring on a Disney Channel sitcom.
Yeah.
He honestly, he looks like every kid in a Disney Channel sitcom. It's like, hi. And he is completely the opposite.
Right.
Like, even though he's got a workman-like attitude and everything, it seems like he has more of that Connor, golden retriever to him.
Yeah.
And it is so inspiring to see it. But it's the coaching, boys. Last year, we so often talked about the coordinators and what we weren't liking and what it was. We're rarely doing that this year.
You're right.
Unless it's been before the break, what we had with where we were questioning who's running the offense.
And I guess one of the bigger differences is the fact that they have started to look better in their new systems with Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio. Whereas this time last year, it was like
it was trending the wrong way.
All right, they won. All right, they won. Whereas this year, to your point, saying that you feel better this time this year than last year, you saw improvements on both sides of the ball under the new coordinators.
Yep.
But the head coach is still a bit of a blemish. So I told you we were going to start with the positives, but it's not going to be all positives. Nick Sirianni spoke to the media again yesterday, and it was less chummy, thankfully. And he was asked again about his decision-making now that he had a chance to review them. He had a chance to look back at the film. He had a chance to look back at the spot. He wasn't in the heat of the moment. He got more information. And here is his answer.
Looking back on it, and I'm thinking, would I do anything different? And to be honest, sometimes I say absolutely. In this particular case, I felt like we did the right thing in all those scenarios. And I understand that I'll always be judged on the outcome, not the process, but I have to make sure that I stick to the process. Same with the players and our preparation throughout a week. We always have to stick to our process, and we've been really good at that, and it's helped us win a lot of games. Again, it's a lonely place. It's definitely a lonely place when you don't convert a fourth down, because I'll always take that on my shoulders, always. At that time in that game, and what we've done in the past, I was doing everything I thought to help our football team win the football game.
He's not telling the truth. I never want to call somebody a liar, because this isn't a liar thing. He's not being truthful. He continued to chase points all game long because of the first one. He continued the first decision to go for it on the 4th and 3 when they were up 10-0. And again, we were 3-0 yesterday. We all agreed with him.
Yeah.
I only put 4 points of the 9 on Nick Sirianni. The people saying that he passed on 9 points, BS. Like they're usually an aggressive team. He wouldn't have just done the traditional on all of those. But I got to tell you, not kicking the field goal in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that was just stupid.
If he says, again, he does not understand clock management and the score. He didn't understand going up 3 scores by halftime, and he doesn't understand going up by 2 scores in the fourth quarter with 7 minutes to go. I don't understand the man. And I don't understand why it's so hard for him to just say, yeah, my bad. My bad on this one. And you know what? Just those 2. If he said, the other 4, I'm still doing them every time. But before halftime, I should have gone up 3 scores. And in the fourth quarter, I should have gone up 2 scores.
And I hate how he does the whole...
just own it, dude.
I hate how he does the whole... Of course, you guys are going to judge me on the result. No,
yes.
dude, I get it. Very low-level educationally, you could say, 18 points is more than 17 points. So
that's
why we went for 2. Awesome.
My gosh, so dumb.
3 scores, just 3 scores. There's no way his little chart, I don't know how big of a chart he has, right? It might be a U.S. map. Does he have somewhere on his chart the probability of victory when you're up 18-0 versus 17-0? Is that part of his decision-making? Because 3 scores is 3 scores. You allow them to have momentum. You allow them to come out in the second half down 2 scores as opposed to 3 scores. And that is a major, major difference, no matter whether it's 17 points or 18 points. 3 scores is 3 scores. And the fact that he sits there and says, I would do the same thing all over again is dumb.
If you don't, and yesterday when he was getting killed with NFL Live and everything yesterday, he was getting crushed for the not letting Jake Elliott kick a field goal that he makes 90% of his Eagles' career to go up 2 scores in the fourth quarter. That's what they were most thing. And then secondarily, it was not going up by 3 scores before halftime. So it's the two that we kept bringing up. The fact that he just goes up there and goes, nope, I feel good, I do it all again, tells me, I got to tell you, that you better have a great run this year, because to me, that's almost like not fit to lead.
I just don't get the field goal one, too. Like, you go up 9. Like, that's simple math.
Oh, my gosh, it's just so
You
dumb.
go up 9, it's 2 scores. And I get it, it was 4th and 1, but then you run a rollout play. Like, I get the tush push was getting stopped all day, then hand it off to your best running back, arguably in Eagles franchise history. It's dumb. So I'll ask this question because I don't want it to just be hate. Answer this on the other side, John. Would you rather him be this way, where he's sticking with his convictions, or would you rather him go back to the identity crisis that he had earlier this year? Let's discuss that on the other side. Also, game 1 of the Paul George era in the Sixers uniform. We'll react to that as well. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Sirianni doubles down. I'm Connor Thomas. This update is brought to you by Wawa. Right now, Wawa has pizza at a really great price. Get a personal 14 or 16-inch Wawa pizza for just $6, $8, or $10. Gotta have a Wawa. Nick Sirianni got another chance yesterday to defend his decision-making. The Eagles win over the Jaguars on
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
This hour of Kincade Salciunas is presented by Bradford White Water Heaters. Bradford White, they're here for the pro.
It is 6:31 on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic on a positive Tuesday, kind of.
It is a positive Tuesday.
Because we have to still talk about Nick Sirianni, so it's not totally positive. In a few minutes, we're going to talk about the Sixers because they played their first game in the Paul George era last night. No Joel Embiid, of course, but Paul George was on the court for the Philadelphia 76ers. So we'll get to that coming up in a few minutes. But I posed a question right before the break that I want you guys both to answer. So our main topic today is start, because we want to lead with the positives on this Tuesday, November 5th of 2024. We want to lead with the positives because there were so many positives from the Eagles' victory on Sunday that were just clouded, and I mean dark cloud, not fog, not this morning's fog. No, this was dark cloud, like hurricane clouds from Nick Sirianni's decision-making. But the players, the 53-man roster, was tremendous on Sunday, and we want to talk about that. And John posed the question of whether or not we feel better this time this year compared to this time last year. Now, Connor and I are both saying this time last year, but a lot of it had to do with coming off of the Super Bowl and the belief that that team could get back to it. But
and I went the other way because of the fact that last year and again, I'm not acting like I knew what was going to happen.
Right.
I did not. Because I was the person saying to you, even when the slide started, they're pulling themselves out of it. They got the Giants and the Cardinals, and they're going to be just fine. They weren't.
Right.
Like I kept saying, 13. They're going to win the last two. They're going to have 13 wins.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay. It wasn't okay.
No, it was not okay.
It was not okay.
You have more, and I don't mean this as an insult, you have more Chicken Little in you as a sports fan, I think, than Andrew and I do when we break stuff down. Remember, Chicken Little was right in the story.
I absolutely do.
And we don't see it that way always, so you did have those thoughts last year.
But I really didn't, Connor, though, is what I'm saying, though, is when they were 7-1, I never saw the collapse coming.
No, you still thought it was going to turn.
But I did not think that they were that good. Like, I just – and I used to get, like, it was the harassment was incredible.
I'm sure,
it was incredible. I was 11 steps into a 12-step chemo, and I was getting crushed by people.
Damn right you were,
and I'm
man.
just like, geez, are you kidding me? And it ended up being far worse than I ever thought. So.
Right. It got a lot worse than everybody thought.
It did.
And so we then got into the Nick Sirianni conversation because we have to have it. Because
we absolutely have to.
He spoke on it again yesterday, and he stuck by his beliefs from the Sunday game where his decision-making legitimately almost cost them the game. For all you, they're one Saquon Barkley drops away from 7-1.
Stop.
They are a Trevor Lawrence, not incredible interception by Nakobe Dean, and a touchdown away from losing this game on Sunday, which would have put them at 5-3 as opposed to 6-2. So he stuck by his decisions. I do want you guys to answer this question. Would you rather him stick by his beliefs no matter what you think about them, or do you want him to still kind of have that some weeks will be aggressive, some weeks we won't be identity crisis that he had earlier this year?
No. I want him to do what he says he does, which he doesn't. And that's where I say he's not telling us the truth.
Right.
He tells us over and over again, I go back and look at this stuff and I learn from it and then I'll be better next time. Like, that's what we do. We go back and we look at everything and all this kind of stuff. He doesn't. Sunday's performance shows me that he doesn't. He gets anxious. He gets antsy. When you're in a 60-minute football game, I say it about the Commanders coach Dan Quinn, and it used to grate on his nerves because I would say, when I watched him coach the Falcons, I would say, this guy, the worst thing he does as a head coach is the 60 minutes when the clock's running.
Right.
On the under fire game time decisions. The fact that he says that he learns from his mistakes, that he goes back and looks and then he corrects them, and then he doubles down on Monday when everybody in the football community, ex-players, ex-coaches, talk show hosts, writers, and everything says, look, dudes, we've seen football.
Yeah.
We know the game enough to be able to say, you did not make 6 great choices.
And not everybody's saying that every choice was wrong.
And we didn't. We agreed with 2 of them. We agreed with 2 of them.
But there were 2 egregious. Look, 2 of them we agreed with. 2 of them I could see where he's coming from.
You could see where he's coming from. And 2
of them were egregiously stupid.
egregiously dumb. And instead, it's so easy to just say you're wrong. It's so easy to go, you know what? Look, I'm looking at it again. And even a little chuckle. I wouldn't do that again. I'm going to go up 3 scores. I would literally do the kindergarten routine, tape a note to him. Tape a note to Nick Sirianni, whatever he's wearing that day. And the little note says, when you have a chance to go up 3 scores, do it every time. Every single opportunity.
The easy way. The easy way.
He makes,
both results were a 3-score game, but go the easy way.
I've said it about Nick Sirianni now for 4 years. It never changes. He makes easy stuff hard.
Yeah.
I can't understand it. And I know people like this in my life. And I say to them, why do you make easy stuff hard?
That's what I do with the show every single day.
And it drives me crazy.
Connor, would you rather him stick to his beliefs? Because let me say this. I'll be honest. As much as I hated his decision-making, I'd rather him stick with one thing. I do. Be the aggressive coach or don't be the aggressive coach.
Right.
Earlier in the season, it was snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap. It was flip, flop, flip, flop.
Yeah, like
Stick with one, and if you're uber aggressive, all right, at least I know you're going to be uber aggressive. It's the Harbaugh thing in Baltimore, right? I hate what John Harbaugh does half the times, but I know he's going to do it. I also hate the super conservative approach. It's got to be a fine line in between, but he has an identity crisis. He has had the coldest gambling streak in the world, Nick Sirianni.
He's unlike our pick.
Seriously, he's had a horrible gambling streak. He goes, you know what, I'm going to be aggressive this time, and it doesn't work. I'm going to be passive this time. It doesn't work. Just stick with one. I'll be honest. I'd rather him just pick one. And if it's going to be the uber aggressive nature, even though I might not agree with a lot of his decisions, at least I know that's what it's going to be. Connor, where are you at?
I did have the thought yesterday when I heard him defend those decisions. It's like at some point when a reporter sits down and asks you, hey, Nick, mathematically, your decision made absolutely 0 sense. You're up by 3 scores either way. You took the more difficult route. Is there any way you can explain this? Like, why would you ever do that? He just goes, nah, I'd do it again. Like, part of me almost respects how committed he is to saying that.
God, I hate it.
I'm like half kidding there. But
no, I get you.
I would rather him flip-flop between the two, depending. Because I like when coaches commit to a way that they're going to be, when I believe that coach knows how to execute that and what it is. I don't think Nick Sirianni understands the difference between aggressive and reckless. We heard Bill and Mike talking about that on Middays yesterday, and aggressive and conservative in the right spot. Like, I don't think he knows what he wants to do if he was going to stick to one. So I'd almost rather ask him to say, okay, try and read these situations, because if he commits to one, we're going to be going for like 4th and 7 on our own 30-yard line. It just feels weird to trust him to do that.
Right.
Like, did you hear, like, he took the Atlanta game and he made it, it ended up in disaster because of decisions making at the end. And he did it again in this game, and it worked out his way. I don't know if you heard yesterday from Jacksonville. They literally changed the play at the line, and Trevor Lawrence went after
N'Kobe Dean.
Oh, wow, interesting.
That wasn't the
original play call. Because I thought the play call was horrible.
It was not
the decision. Sorry.
Yes.
The decision to throw the football on 1st and 10 with 1:30 to the end zone, as if like you needed a score on that play.
It was not.
I thought it was a bad decision by the quarterback.
It was not the play call. They checked into. We got him on a linebacker.
Got a mismatch. Yeah.
Got a mismatch. Let's go for it.
And I understand.
N'Kobe
I
Dean
understand
made
that, but you went for a big play when you didn't need it, and
Correct.
the Eagles are fortunate for that.
Yeah, but that's not a bad play call.
No, it's not a bad play call.
It's not a bad decision, I don't think, by Trevor Lawrence to take a shot at a linebacker in the end zone with the game on line. It was just a bad ball.
Bad ball.
It was a bad ball, and he got paid $70 billion to be the quarterback of that team, which is amazing.
And he'll get another coach next year that will fix him. That'll fix him.
Exactly.
We'll see.
All right, we'll get to the text messages and calls coming up in a little bit, but real quick, Sixers played their first game of the Paul George era last night.
How was that? I got to see some of it.
Dude, it was a riveting game against the Phoenix Suns, who are still a good basketball team, and Kevin Durant is still that dude, man. That guy,
he is.
39 minutes last night, 35 points, and he is 36 years old, and he doesn't look it, right? That guy is still that guy. Tyrese Maxey was spectacular, and here's my biggest takeaway on that, John. The shot at the end from Paul George was very disappointing, and I hated the look that he took, and we'll talk about it more as the show goes on. But Paul George's impact already makes Tyrese Maxey better.
Oh, it absolutely does.
And that's why you bring him in now. Obviously, him Embiid, and Maxey is a totally different story than Maxey, George, and Andre Drummond, who's going to be a great backup for this team.
No, I get what you're saying, and you absolutely can see what I would. The only takeaway I would have from last night, because I got to see it with Joel Embiid.
I hear you.
Is that the impact of Paul George on Tyrese Maxey will be huge.
Yes. It's going to be huge. I mean, Maxey was shooting the ball horribly the first 4 games of the season, and then yesterday he has his best shooting performance of the season, and it's just because Paul George was there.
And then imagine Embiid on that floor.
Yeah, with all due respect, Caleb Martin, Kelly Oubre, I like
I'm not trashing any of them.
Yeah, Yabusele, that guy, good for the Sixers.
Yabu.
I mean, that guy's been balling out this year.
Yes.
But Paul George's impact, just being there, makes them a better basketball team. It's just unfortunate that they played Kevin Durant, who is still that dude. You'll hear from Paul George coming up next because he talks about the final shot that I did not like. And also, we got great injury news for the Eagles. We'll tell you about it next. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts.
In terms of playing complimentary football, I think it was one of the cleanest game in that realm. But I think we had each other's backs, and I think that's the thing that matters.
on Sunday. I don't want to say bozo as an individual. On Sunday, he was a bozo. If he wasn't a bozo on Sunday, they probably win that game 31-13, like somebody predicted on this show.
It would have been a blowout.
But instead,
or 38-14, which someone else predicted.
Oh, if this and that, but someone who predicted 28-21.
Yeah.
you can't take the trap.
I'm going
game.
to take it at some point this week, and I'm biding my time. So enjoy this.
You're not allowed.
But anyway.
So good news for the Eagles. I want to play this for you real quick before we get back to our text messages. So yesterday, if you guys missed it because it was, after the midnight hour, I fell asleep at halftime. I watched the second half this morning. I sped through it. Paul George had a chance to make a statement on his very first game. Final seconds, Kevin Durant makes a layup to give the Suns a 2-point lead. And so Paul George has 20 seconds left, and he asks for the ISO, which I'm totally fine with. He got a switch. He had Grayson Allen on him. The problem is
still a dirtbag.
Oh, yeah, my God, that shot to the back of the head.
Yeah, you need Missanelli in
right
the
to
head.
the head.
Ridiculous. So Paul George has the ISO. Totally fine with it. It looks like he has a step on Grayson Allen. He then, predetermined, let's face it, a lot of these things are predetermined, step back, misses the shot. The problem is it was like a 22-footer, so it was a deep 2, which is not a good shot. They needed 2 to tie.
Well,
He could have drove and finished.
And gotten a foul, draw a foul.
Right. Or you take the step back for 3 and you go for the win, and so be it. You're on the road in Phoenix. You're going for the win. He takes the long 2. Shot misses. They didn't get the next shot off in time. Not that it went in anyway. They lose the basketball game. Here's Paul George after the game talking about it.
Bad evaluation. I thought we were down 1. I thought KD made the layup that put them up 1. Otherwise, go for the 3 to try to win the game opposed to going for a 2 to tie the game. So after watching it, another bonehead play. Again, in that situation, why not go for the win? But, I got the matchup. Kyle did a great job of putting a favorite matchup in that situation. I got a good look, rimmed in and out. You live with that at the end of the day.
He didn't know the score.
Well, somebody's got to shout that to him, too.
He didn't know the score.
Somebody's got to shout to him, play for the 2 or play for the 3. Like, somebody has to.
I got you, but still, you don't know the score. You don't know the situation.
That's pretty bad. And he said it was bonehead.
No, and again, I admire him. He didn't cover that.
So that's the thing.
He said it.
That's
I respect
like what
it.
you heard there was professionalism.
Professionalism,
What
honesty.
you saw on the court yesterday was making Tyrese Maxey's life easier.
Correct.
Was it the result we wanted?
No.
Absolutely not. Do we wish Paul George had a game-winning shot in his first game in a Sixers uniform?
Yes.
Absolutely. Am I going to let him off the hook?
Yes.
No, I'm not going to let him off the hook for not knowing the score.
No, I'm gonna let him off the hook because he admitted it.
Okay. I'm
And
not going to let him off the hook.
I think the fact that he admitted it tells me all I need to know about the guy's accountability and
Correct.
leadership.
Right.
He was. You know what he was right there? In that soundbite, he was the anti-Nick Sirianni. He he knew he made a bonehead thing. He knows it's wrong, and instead of doubling down and going, bup, 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 he just says, look, I thought we were down 1.
Yeah.
I admire it. And I've heard that Paul George is that guy.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah.
So that's
he's
the
just
kind of
gotta
guy
be
he is.
healthy.
So he's got to be healthy.
He's a great basketball player.
Right.
He's just got to be healthy.
No, but I've heard he's that kind of guy as a professional.
Right.
That he's a respectable guy. That's the kind of guy you want around your organization.
So tough loss for the Sixers yesterday. Coming down on the wire, they fall to 1-5 on the season. We need the big man back. All right, coming up next, it's the 7 o'clock hour, and on this specific Tuesday, Amy Fadool will join us for the entire 7 o'clock hour as opposed to the 9 o'clock hour normally. So you'll hear from Amy for the entire hour. She just slides right into the show. But
Amy Fadool merges doing 55.
It's amazing. But we will reset the show for you if you are not up for the 6 o'clock hour. And throughout the show today, we weren't the only ones talking about Nick Sirianni's decision-making. Throughout the show today, you'll hear from different members of the national media. We start with Dan Orlovsky. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Defending Sirianni's decisions. I'm Connor Thomas, and this update is brought to you by Popeyes. It's football season.
a.m. on a Tuesday sports day.
There was a long delay there. Was that dramatic?
It's a Tuesday sports day
Nothing going on today.
across the United States of America.
Correct.
Well, then again, you should actually go out and vote. Let's be honest. Go out and vote if you haven't done that yet already.
If you haven't done it, get it done.
And that's all we're going to say. All right, so normally for the 9 o'clock hour, we are joined by the great Amy Fadool. But because of Election Day and schedules change because of life, Amy's here for the 7 o'clock hour. Hello, Amy.
Good morning, everyone.
How are you feeling
Will
getting
she be
up this
great at the
bright and
7
early?
o'clock hour, though,
I
is the
feel great.
question.
I feel great.
You
How
were
much
up
sleep
way
you get?
late.
I got home a little before 2. Probably got about 3 hours ish.
I turned off
There's
the
only
TV.
about 2 hours more than 2 hours less than I normally get. So
Amy was on it.
Yeah.
yeah, and now I'm here in the
So,
studio with
saw
you,
her on
John.
the
I
TV
went
and
right
now
to
you're
a
right
comfy.
next to
I
her.
went right to a comfy bed, and I was out.
I was still talking to Jim about that last shot. So.
Well, and we're going to talk about it with you because we have you for the entire hour, and I know how much of a Sixers fan you are. So we'll talk some Sixers with you. We got into it a little bit this past segment, but not that we need to reset the show for your purposes because you are always just perfect
Locked
when you
in.
come in here. But for the audience, in case you're just waking up, I know that not everybody's up and at 'em at 6 a.m. in the morning. We have a couple of topics that we want people to chime in on, but Amy, as we go along, we want your answers on this, okay? So text in, call in, 610-632-0975. We'll check the text line a little bit because we've not gotten to it yet. But we want to start the day off positively because it is a big day in this country and it's a contentious day for a lot of people. So we wanted to focus on the positives because we were unable to do that yesterday. Because the head coach was an idiot on Sunday. He's not an idiot as a person.
You're being a little volatile this
All
morning.
right, I'm sorry. He was unintelligent on Sunday.
His decisions were stupid.
Yes, they were dumb. A lot of them.
A lot
Not
of
all of them.
them. A lot of them.
So we want to start with the positives because we couldn't really do that.
Okay.
So, first, a couple of your most favorite positives from the Eagles' victory on Sunday before we ask you the questions today. What comes to mind
Well, Saquon
other than
Barkley.
Saquon
Yeah,
Barkley?
I mean, come on. Getting the win. Saquon Barkley's fun. The defense in the first half. We'll go with that. The special teams.
Yeah,
There you go.
everything.
There's a lot
The
there to like.
53-man roster
Great-
was a positive.
Great times.
Unfortunately, the coach was not. So John asked us a question, or he texted it to me last night. This is how we started the show off. And I know it's hard to try to ignore what happened last year. But November 5th, 2023 versus November 5th, 2024. Where are you feeling this year compared to last year at this time? Are you feeling better or worse? You have to try to ignore everything that transpired.
After
See, that's
after
hard.
November,
See,
that's the hard part.
That's hard because November 5th last year, riding high.
Yes.
Right? Even though it had been like a little bit kind of a mixed bag at
Shaky,
times,
yeah.
you thought, well, they'll figure it out. They found ways to win, and you thought, well, that's the mark of a good team. If you find a way to win,
Spot
that's
on.
the mark of a good team. They found ways to win last year, good times. Obviously, the bottom fell out, and it was the opposite of good times. I don't feel the same as I did last year on November 5th. That's fair, probably.
So you feel better last year?
I don't feel the same.
Okay.
I don't know that I feel better. I don't know that I feel worse, but I feel I feel a little bit more trepidatious
Of this year?
of this year.
Okay, let me ask you why, though, because of I feel so much better about the coordinators, so much
Yeah.
better about the secondary, so much better about the linebackers, so much better about the fact that you added another, super friend
Oh,
in
offense-wise, for
Saquon
sure.
Barkley, that, to me, I think there's far more
Super
arrows
friend.
pointing up. Yeah, the super friends. The arrows pointing up than last year where it was sort of we were questioning every week, how are they doing it? How are they winning?
Right, when I don't know if we thought the bottom would drop out in the way that
Oh,
it
I
did.
never
but
thought
I
that,
think
but
you
I was
thought
worried about it.
maybe it's a little bit of fool's gold. I feel like this one, and it is hard to not see how the season ended last year.
Correct.
Because, but yeah, and John, you go back. You feel better about the linebacking play. Good Lord, I hope so.
Yeah, right. How many times did
It
we
would
say
be hard to feel worse.
How many times did we say it couldn't get worse this offseason? Like, we said
Well,
it a million
The
times.
bar for that one was quite low.
Now, to me, and Connor was on the same page with me on this one. For me, if I'm ignoring everything that transpired, which is hard to do, they were coming off of a Super Bowl appearance.
Right.
And I go, all right, they clearly don't have the hangover because they've won games, right? It's not like they started off the season 1-3. They had one loss at this point last year. So I didn't think there was some sort of Super Bowl hangover, which meant they had the the charisma. They had the experience. And we, at the time, Jason Kelce, Fletcher Cox, there was no leadership questions. Nobody was questioning Jalen Hurts' leadership. Nobody wanted the head coach fired. So this time last year, I felt better. But I can also say at the same time, I still believe this team has higher upside. And that's knowing, whether I forget about what happened last year or not, they were old defensively. This team has upside.
I think this team does have, there are a lot more positives going forward, and I think the offense has a big reason for that. The secondary does too, but I feel like there are positives. My trepidation obviously comes from just how it ended, and you're just waiting. The experience factor does concern me a little bit, just because you have guys in positions that, while playing well right now, Zach Bond, a prime example, has not been there. As far as when crunch time comes and push comes to shove, how are some of these guys going to respond? We haven't seen that to this degree because you haven't needed to. They haven't had a push come to shove yet type of moment. You've had moments like that, but as far as like for the season, the game on the line, the season on the line type of vibe. So that's maybe where a little bit comes in. But no, to me, when you look back on that season last year before it fell out the way it did, you thought, okay, well, that's a pretty good team. I think you think this is it could be a very good team at times. Certainly a very good offense and a decent defense. Defense played better than they have the last couple of weeks. You're looking at a team that's played better on the defensive end, so there are some positives go away. The schedule gets a lot tougher, let's be honest.
It does.
They got a gift, though, obviously, next for this coming week. Yeah.
9 weeks to go, so 9 weeks of play left in the NFL. The Eagles are sitting 11th in offense. Then now the offense creeping towards where we think they belong.
Yeah.
And they're 9th in defense, 9th in scoring defense. I got to tell you, the offense is not where I thought it would be. The defense is absolutely not where I thought it would be.
Yeah.
At this point.
That's, to me, it's a little skewed looking at who you've played with the Giants, the Browns, and the Jaguars for a scoring defense, because that second half scoring defense didn't look like a top 10 scoring defense to me at all. Trevor Lawrence just picked them apart too easily at times, but that could have been something that they just learned from. Listen, he is who he is. He's not the worst quarterback I ever saw in the league, where there's average quarterbacks just rolling out on Sundays every single week. But the offense is exactly what we thought they were going to be, and I think that's going to get you through, and the defense is so much better. That's really, I'm not looking for
even
a top 10 defense.
If they finish 15th, you're still happy with it.
Give me a top 20 half of the defense in all categories.
Right now, I'm hoping that, looking at the schedule, I'm hoping for a top 10 defense. And that's probably
overall.
Yeah,
that's not going to happen.
But when I look at
you can hope.
When I look at this, how about this? When I look at the end of the year, and again, we did this last year, so there's an error in it. Giants, Cowboys, Commanders, Steelers, Panthers. Like, I think there's a chance, and you get 4 of your last 5 at home.
Yeah.
There's a chance.
And there's no more real travel with that.
And there's no
I think it's important, too.
They don't travel after the Rams.
Yeah, that's pretty much
the
Ravens.
Amazing.
The Ravens. By the way, the other night, I was in the police caravan behind the Commanders' buses.
Oh, is that right?
Oh.
The Commanders' buses were heading back down 95 with a police escort.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
And they're going down a police escort as people are leaving heading down 95.
How about that? Did you
leaving
boo
the Eagles.
them? Boo!
No, I did not. Dan Quinn would have said, "Cut the bastard off," if he'd known it was me.
All right, so do you feel better this time this year than you did last year? We'd love to hear from you, 610-632-0975. So we got the warm and fuzzy out of the way, Amy.
Okay.
Now it's time to get negative.
Oh.
Nick Sirianni. So we know the decisions that were made in the game on Sunday that I believe are the sole reason why the Jaguars were in the game. You're right about the second half defense getting picked apart a little bit. There should not have been a second half in terms of there being any sort of close game. It was 22-0.
It's unbelievable.
It really is. It really is.
I'm at a loss for words. Like, I literally can't speak. I do radio for a living. I can't speak because it's dumb. Oh, man, I stick by what I believe because going for 2. Why? 17-0, 18-0 is 3 scores.
When he went for 2, I remember we're sitting there and I look over watching and I'm sorry, what's happening right now? Is Jake Elliott hurt?
I wondered, and by the way,
why
I think John Clark asked. I think John Clark or somebody behind me in the press box was wondering about that. Is something wrong?
It wouldn't have mattered.
Is something wrong with Jake Elliott?
The extra point was good, so you just declined the penalty. The only reason why they went for 2 is because the guy jumped off sides, and so then they went.
So we thought, hey,
so
we're
they
in a
go for
better
2.
position for 2.
Just decline it.
Yeah. Just call it a day.
Go set it. Go
Take
kick
your
off.
points.
Where's
Take
the
your
little
points.
kid with the little T?
Hey,
Have him
remember,
run out.
Since the 32-team NFL, I saw the number yesterday from ESPN Stats and Information. 8% of times do coaches take points off the board. So in like 20-some years of the
Is
NFL,
it his chart,
since
John?
Houston came in, 8% of coaches say, "Yep, take points off the board. Let's risk it."
That's just, you can't get out of your own way.
That's
You're just
what it
overthinking things. You're trying to be the smartest man in the room instead of just
Here's
being
his chart.
a person.
I stole it this morning. Here's his chart. Oh, 17 is less than 18. Here's his chart. This is Nick Sirianni's chart. I have it in my hand.
Okay.
Oh, 17 less than sign 18.
By the way,
Let's go for 2.
The less than, greater than stuff, I never figured that out. as a
Why?
kid.
What do you mean?
I screwed it up all. I
It's
screwed
an
it up all the
alligator
time.
that's eating the greater
I
number.
screwed it up all the time.
I always called it a shark. But
Or a
alligator
shark.
works too.
But like, come on, like it's simple.
Now, hang on. You keep saying chart. Like it's
Yeah, his chart. He's told us about
Well,
it.
yeah.
Now, he didn't say chart this week. And something we brought up, we have to be fair to
Because
him.
now he's got notepads.
Hang on. We have to be fair to Nick Sirianni if we're going to say things about him. So we've brought up before. Yes, we do. We've brought up before that sometimes you have to have a feel for situations. And I think these decisions were him playing on his field. Now, his field's entirely wrong.
Dude, he's Edward Scissorhands.
No, I know. And
The
I'm
man
not,
has no feel.
he doesn't. And he's making the wrong decisions. But we can't blame it on the chart when it's blatantly against simple mathematics. We have to blame it on him playing the feel. Maybe he should go
That's the
back
truth.
to the chart. Okay? So let's play it the right way based on what
unless
we're
it's
asking
right
him
on
to
the
do.
chart.
Unless
Or
his
say-
chart is different.
Exactly. We don't know what his chart looks
There's
like.
no
Connor.
way his chart says
Oh, you
that
don't know that.
go up
No,
3
the right-
scores.
Maybe there's an asterisk by it that says whatever you feel like, Nick.
I believe that was checked in at some point.
The chart has to say on it, you go up 3 scores, and you had already done it, and you decided to take it off the board.
That's all.
Don't do that.
It's easy. So here's Sirianni yesterday explaining that he will stick by his decisions.
Looking back on it, and I'm thinking, would I do anything different? And to be honest, sometimes I say absolutely. In this particular case, I felt like we did the right thing in all those scenarios, and I understand that I'll always be judged on the outcome, not the process. But I have to make sure that I stick to the process. Same with the players and our preparation throughout a week. We always have to stick to our process. And we've been really good at that, and it's helped us win a lot of games. Again, it's a lonely place. It's definitely a lonely place when you don't convert a 4th down, because I'll always take that on my shoulders, always. At that time in that game and what we've done in the past, I was doing everything I thought to help our football team win the football game.
He's lying to us.
At least this
And
time he didn't mention male genitalia as to why
Yes.
he went
like
for
he
it.
did yesterday. There's no way that your process, that you're scheming behind the scenes during the week, and you're saying, "Hey, Nick, if you're up 16-0, our agenda is to go up 18-0." So he's lying when he says that.
Yeah.
It's not, and I don't mean lying being in the term of lying. He's not telling us the truth.
Well, and he also said, when we don't convert a 4th down, that's on me. But it's not on me because
it's
I believe
not.
it. I believe that I should have done that.
So, and I want to play another clip for you because there's
so much.
There's a dark part of my soul every once in a while. So you just said it's on me, right? That's what he says.
yeah.
Yes.
Here's Nick Sirianni talking about trusting his players.
I talked to the players about this a little bit, like 2 weeks ago when I was explaining the 4th and 3 that we went for against the New York Giants. I circled the players and I said, I don't go for this unless I trust, and I circled Jalen on the screen, and I circled AJ on the screen, and we converted. So you have that same trust. You not only do you trust your process, but you trust your players. And doing those 2 things, trusting your process and trusting your players, has given us a good track record of it. But hey, it didn't work yesterday. It's a lonely place when it doesn't work. But again, I don't know any other solution than to trust those 2 things and always constantly try to get better.
Lose trust the process, by the way. Could you please lose it?
That's got to go.
Because that was an utter
that here.
failure.
You
It was an utter
can't say
failure.
that here.
Yes.
So the demon in me, not that I think he believes this, or not that I think that he's doing this, but the demon in me goes, well, I trusted my players.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
No. I trusted them to get the The 2-point conversion.
I didn't even go there. My mind didn't even go there.
That's
'cause I don't
the demon in
No.
it.
You do. No, my mind did not even go there.
No,
But,
I didn't
but
until you just said that.
Look, I trusted my players. My chart tells me, and
it's
this and that,
interesting.
and I trusted my players.
There's no way his chart tells him.
Yeah, there's no way his chart tells
His
him.
chart tells him do what you want, Nick.
He's full of
but
it. He's absolutely
There's not a chart in
deceiving.
the world.
He's basically saying, in one breath, it's, I'm going to do what I think is best for the team. But then the next breath, it's, I'm going to trust my players.
Yep.
So which is it, Nick?
Yeah.
Is it you think your decision-making, the 6 decisions that John and I, Amy, I'd like your thoughts on this. We agreed with 2 of them, like the 4th and 3
And
going
when they were up
for
10-0.
Yes, when they were up first.
When they're up 10-0, we had no problem.
There's 2 that we agree with, 2 that we were like, all right, I can see, and then 2 that were dumb. The not taking the extra point and then not kicking a field goal to go up 9 were
Not
were
kicking
dumb.
field goal was very strange.
Like
That was
those
the
were
big
dumb.
Yeah.
So whatever.
But he doesn't think it was dumb. He says.
He thinks he put him in the best position, but then he also says in the same breath, that's too close, but it's the same answer. I trust
It's
my
the-
I
that's
trust
the
my
same
players.
answer. Yeah, it's just a long answer broken up. I think people need to realize that that's the same exact answer.
So which is it? Can it be both?
Yes, absolutely.
How?
Because all he's doing when he's saying he trusts his players is he's saying, I can be this aggressive because I believe my team is this talented. Now, it might not be the right spot for him to be that aggressive, and that's on him.
So then
But-
he's not putting them in the best
He's not
position.
doing what he
which
says.
he's explaining that he's doing. He's trying to explain that he's
So
doing.
the process isn't right then.
Right, the process isn't right, but him trusting his players, you got to cut that demon out of you, Salciunas, because he's not doing
Yeah, but
it
he
to try.
says. Wait a minute, though. But Connor, he says beforehand. He says, my job. I'm putting my players in the best position to succeed. He's absolutely not. He's doing the opposite of that.
Especially on that play.
Yeah, okay, I understand. Like, he may believe he's doing that, and we may see, like, I don't think he's, you bring up lying, John, I know you don't mean like lying
I don't
in
mean
that
lying
sense.
like nefariously.
But I believe that Nick Sirianni believes this. I just don't think he's very good at evaluating when to go for it, when not to, and all this stuff. And I think he trusts his players, and that's why he's being aggressive, and that's all he's saying.
I think he's also incredulous that we're talking about this after a win. I think he is absolutely like he
he's
was
doing it to himself.
Yeah, and it's
Right,
like
he
he's
makes
setting
it in the
himself.
story.
If he just came right out and said, "Listen, yeah, probably shouldn't have done that," people would have moved on. But now that he tried to justify it,
Yeah.
in a way, and people are like, "Well, you almost cost them the game." Like, yeah, you won, and that's all well and good, and everybody's excited. 4-game win streak, let's go. But it's like you got to take a little ownership.
They
there.
have 6 wins, and he's the story of 2 of them. That's a third. That's not good.
Yeah,
well,
no.
Paul, we brought up the thing, and you did it last night with postgame with Paul George. Paul George thought they were down 1, not 2.
Which is,
And he admits it
I
on
think-
microphone. And to me, I admire the hell out of that.
Yeah.
He just steps up and he says, "Look, I don't want."
You admire that he admitted it.
I admire
Yeah.
that he admitted it because so many people go, he admits it. Nick Sirianni, he had a night to sleep on it, and he came out and doubled down and said, "I would do everything exactly."
Well, so
the
then
same."
that leads to our other question today, Amy, and I'd love your answer on this. Do you want him to just stick with his beliefs? Because earlier this year, it was aggressive one week, passive the next week.
Mm-hmm.
I said it earlier, he's on the worst gambling streak ever right now because whether he's aggressive or passive, it's just been the wrong decision.
He's cousin Eddie.
And I know he says the whole, you guys, have your opinion after the fact. Like, no, there are times where you're doing something in real time and I'm going, I would not do this. Whether it
Yeah.
works or
But
not,
just
I
'cause
can
he
then
doesn't
come
hear
on the
it
next
until
day.
after,
Right,
yeah.
exactly. Do you wish he just kind of stuck with it? Like he believes he made the right decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Part of me admires it, even though I think it's dumb.
You think he does?
yes.
Oh, I don't. I think he's lying.
So would you rather it that, where he at least is sticking with?
I
You know
would
what
rather-
John? You
yeah.
know what John Harbaugh's giving you every single Sunday.
Yeah, I would rather that. Even though I don't like it, I would rather, if he honestly believes these things that he's telling us, I would rather he at least believes in them than just like switches gears every single reactionary moment. Like, oh, now I'm going to be this guy. You got to, if that's who you are, then that's who you are. Don't be somebody else. I mean, I think, John, that's your point. Is like he's trying to do other things. He's trying to be. Stop doing that then. But the thing is, we don't like it when he's that guy.
Right.
He's serving too many masters. And I don't.
Well, he's trying to
understand.
keep his job.
Yeah, but the thing is, though,
He's trying to make it
if
seem like
he
he's
made
doing
it harder
his job.
to keep his job. If Sunday was a laugher, his job security is even better. You know what I mean? If he goes out there
Right.
against inferior opponents and just blows them out, his
Then
job
that's it, yeah.
security is better.
By the way, I'm not the only one with the demon mind. Our man Joe the Cynic has checked in.
Well, Joe has a little bit of a demon mind every day.
He
He's a
says-
cynic in his name.
He says he's absolutely saying the decision was right. Execution was poor.
That's ridiculous.
It's not on me.
It's ridiculous.
All right, coming up next, Dan Orlovsky chimed in on Nick Sirianni's decision-making, as did Colin Cowherd and a lot of members of the national media. You'll hear from them both coming up next. Also, big news for the Eagles-Cowboys game this upcoming Sunday. It's Kincade and Salciunas with Amy Fadool for the entire 7 o'clock hour, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
George makes his debut. I'm Connor Thomas, and this update is brought to you by Groundworks, your expert for basement waterproofing and foundation repair since 1997. Book your free inspection at groundworks.com.
and Andrew
Yeah,
are trying to push this agenda.
We're not yelling in a vacuum here.
Every single NFL show yesterday on Fox and ESPN, every single one of them, and I set the DVR for all of them just to be able to check in. All of them dealt with Nick Sirianni as a topic yesterday after a win.
Because of his decision-making.
This is not...
Yeah, no football person saw that. Like you pointed out, 8%? Right. No football person saw that second half and thought, these are good football decisions.
These are really smart decisions.
And it's not aggressive.
No.
And it's something about being aggressive is fine. These are not aggressive.
It's Bryce Harper hitting a single up the middle and trying to make it a double. Aggressive could be stupid at times.
And you never... Did you ever, in Andy Reid's tenure here, did you ever hear Andy Reid quoting analytics?
Oh, God, no.
No. Andy Reid knows football.
It wasn't a buzzword back
And guess
then.
what?
No,
Andy Reid made mistakes in games. And his clock management was terrible many, many years. But Andy Reid was not going, the analytics say.
Well, my chart says this.
Exactly.
And
none of that crap.
One more clip for you. Here's Colin Cowherd. So we go from ESPN to Fox. Here's Cowherd. Again, we have a bunch of these different national media members talking about Nick Sirianni's eventful day on Sunday.
The Philadelphia Eagles are in a very unique spot in the NFL. They're the only team that consistently wins this year, and you never really feel good about it. I mean, that doesn't exist in the NFL, right? You win, you're happy. 0 for 3 on 2-point conversions, 0 for 2 on fourth down, passing on makeable field goals, constantly chasing points. They're like a day trader that's on a bit of a hot streak, but you know it's not sustainable. You go look at the box score of this game, and it feels like it's 45-14. I mean, that's Philadelphia. There is a way in this sport to coach a game, A, when you lead, and B, when you lead with a clearly better roster. What Philadelphia is doing, it's just crazy, unnecessary risks when you have the better roster and a lead. They're starting to win in spite of their head coach. And again, the dice are rolling their way because they're so absurdly talented. They have a great general manager, Howie Roseman, but this stuff doesn't last in the playoffs.
So, Amy, I want to ask you a question that we discussed yesterday. Yesterday's main topic, aside of just talking about the great 53-man roster performance. Our question was, can you win big in spite of your head coach? And I tried to take the team name Eagles out of it. I tried to take the name Nick Sirianni out of it. Do you think in sports you can win big? And by big, I don't mean a game in November in the NBA, in football, a game in April for baseball, a game in December for hockey. I'm talking playoffs.
Yes.
Can you win big in spite of your head coach?
No, you can't. You cannot win big because at the end all, we talked about on the offseason, what is Nick Sirianni going to do? He's got his fingers in everywhere. He's the CEO or whatever. Well, that means that he's got his fingers in every single pie. And when you have that influence, whether you're directly calling the play or not, you're influencing it. And he's obviously calling some of these as well. We all know that. Then you can't, because if you're making decisions, you go back and you think about some maybe not so great coaches who've won big games, the Super Bowl or the NBA championship. They must have had exceptional players. I look at the Ravens when they won it in 2000.
Brian Billick.
Yeah.
Okay, offensive genius. They didn't score a touchdown for like 7 games, right? 45, whatever it was, quarters. But they had a historically good defense. And when push came to shove, he was able to put together a game plan in the Super Bowl. Ty Lue out there in L.A.
Right.
He's got one of the greatest players to ever hold a basketball in his life.
And he's still
a good coach, though.
Right, he's a good coach.
He's a good coach, but he makes boneheaded decisions at times. I think everybody saw that L.A. run, and you thought, okay. So, yeah, I think you can if you have somebody, but you have to get your head out of your butt at some point and come through. And Brian Billick is an example of all right, Super Bowl was a good one for them.
Is Doug Peterson one of those guys?
It worked for him.
I don't think that he was bad at the time.
I think Doug Peterson to me is a little like Inspector Clouseau.
Yeah, but you know what?
He stumbles into things.
But this goes back to our question about.
I think he knows football.
Oh, I think he knows football. I have no doubt. Yes,
but this goes back to what I'm asking today. Would you rather Nick Sirianni just stick with the aggressive approach?
Yeah.
You knew what Doug Peterson was doing. There was no question.
Doug Peterson's not going to sit there and try to overthink something and think, I'm going to try to outsmart this. He's not going to make moves that are detrimental. And I think that's the difference. Is can you win in spite of your head coach working against you?
Yeah.
Not just not being that good. He's sometimes actively working against his
Doug
team.
Peterson's chart is All right, green means go.
Green means go.
That's no, seriously.
No, you're not wrong.
Points
4th and
good.
4. All right, let's
Yeah.
go for
Points
it. Whereas
good.
Sirianni, it's some days he's aggressive, some days he's
good.
not.
Yeah, points good.
Now-
Sounds like Ricky
Turnover
Bo.
bad.
I did
Points
the math on the 4th down conversions or the 4th down attempts from 22, just because you guys brought that up earlier.
Okay.
They had 32 attempts on 4th down in 2022. They're on pace for 36 this year. So it's not a major difference. He always kind of has been that aggressive head coach, and we know that. Now, where you do it is different.
Well, that's the
how
big
you
play.
do it
Yeah,
is
yeah.
different. But just so we have the full picture of that story, 32 and 22 on pace for 36 this year.
Thank you, Connor.
Good
You're
job,
welcome.
Connor.
Well
And
done.
you say math sucks with you.
Yeah, well, I
That's
had to
good
write it
math
all
for you.
down. I looked
Connor
like I
was
got
division.
the
Carried
Zodiac
the
letter
one.
over
He was
here.
Division 3.
All right, so,
So he had some-
coming up next, I can't believe this hour's already almost over with
crazy.
Amy. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Coming up next,
She's
we
leaving the kids with us, though.
Yeah.
That's right.
See,
It'd
that's
be great
if
if they rolled
that's
in
if
here.
she didn't tell us.
Shawnee would have been great.
I think
fair-
Shawnee'd be fine. I
fair
can take a
trade
segment
off.
off.
We'll check the text messages coming up next. And also, going back to that tweet that I read to you from Evan, who's like, oh, the facts, blah, blah.
The facts.
I want to discuss this. How much does the past help or hurt somebody's opinions? It's Kincade and Salciunas with Amy Fadool for the 7 o'clock hour, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now is the time to become a Fanatic MVP. If you missed a show, then listen to the on-demand podcast or watch on YouTube.
And of course, we are live weekday morning 6 to 10 on 97.5, The Fanatic.
It is 7:47 on Kincade and Salciunas here on 97.5, The Fanatic. We're joined by Amy Fadool for the remainder of the 7 o'clock hour. Jeff McLane joins us coming up at 8:10. We have our second opinion segment at 8:30, which is our chance to react to something from the game that we didn't really get to touch on yesterday. And wow, there's a lot, because we really didn't get to touch on much from the actual game yesterday because we had to talk about Nick Sirianni. What do we have on the text line there, Connor? You can text the show at 610-632-0975.
So speaking of that bad coach conversation, we have a text here from Alan Maniok saying Nick Sirianni is our Barry Switzer. Bad coach with a great team.
I don't.
Wow, that's a really strong.
Barry Switzer has a much higher football acumen, success rate, IQ.
But Sirianni's got a great success rate, too. Like,
No,
I don't want to be...
He does actually have a good success rate.
No,
He does.
As far as I'm telling you right now, is Coach Switzer was made out to be a dope. Coach Switzer was a hugely successful coach before he came to the NFL and stepped into a situation with his college roommate, giving him the job from Jimmy
With
Johnson.
some of the greatest players.
It was a huge step down, though.
He's not going to get the credit, I think, but I don't think he was as bad a coach as maybe people think Barry Switzer was.
Yeah.
It's hard to give him great credit when you've got three Hall of Famers.
I think Sirianni's had success.
Yeah,
Yes.
he has good success rate.
Okay, I said it to you last year. I'm going to ask you both right now.
Okay.
Nick Sirianni's fired at the end of the year. Does he get a head coaching job in the NFL? This cycle?
No,
Or
not
does he
this
sit-
cycle.
Not this cycle.
Or does he sit a year like Doug Peterson had to?
I would say more so
I
city
don't-
year.
If he was a hot coach, Andy Reid got fired here.
I mean,
And
that's
Andy Reid was fired and had a new job 24 hours later.
Yeah, I mean, that's not apples and
So that's
oranges, though.
Okay, tell me why.
Because Andy Reid had a much longer track record.
Yeah, but he had great. Like, I mean, if
He'd been to like multiple NFC Championship games.
I mean, if you have this success,
He did a lot with not a whole big big roster as far as talent goes up and down.
Yeah, I don't believe that Nick Sirianni is looked upon in NFL circles that way.
Now, did Switzer, what happened? Because that's before my time, but his last job was the Cowboys. He didn't get hired again.
Jimmy Johnson had had a fight with the owner.
He kicked.
And he literally got fired got canned.
Yeah.
So he brought in Barry Switzer was the coach of Oklahoma.
I know, but when he was done in '97, he didn't get another NFL job. He didn't get another job coaching.
No, he was retiring after that. He had already
Yeah, that was
retired.
No,
Yeah.
he said when he came
Gotcha.
in that this was going to be his last job.
It's Rob Thompson.
Gotcha. Just
Right.
wanted
Yeah.
that to be clear because I was
Right.
just looking at the Wikipedia page.
By the way,
That's gonna tell you everything.
can I say screw you, Connor, for once again reminding me that I remember that very, very vividly.
Yeah,
And
I don't remember
You were
most of
not
that,
even,
but-
I was 3.
not even into
Yeah.
it.
Sorry that our parents did things
It was unbelievable.
later on in life. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. My parents did it in the 60s.
It's a lot
Okay,
of
let's move
information.
on from what our
we got
parents
on?
did it.
What else we got on
Let's
the
move
text
on.
line there, Connor?
Deno in the
By the way,
Northeast.
John's my adopted brother.
Yeah, because I'm an orphan. My parents are dead. So
my parents-
now I'm
That's awfully
I'm now a
nice.
Salciunas.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't
can
go
see that.
Kincade Salciunas with the hyphen, though.
Yeah.
It's a
I'm not
lot.
doing
That's
that.
a mouthful.
I'm not taking
We just
his
haven't
name.
changed the name of the show yet to Salciunas and
Instead
Salciunas.
of the and.
No, it's
the
going to
and
be
it just is a dash.
Kincade Salciunas and Salciunas.
No,
it would
you
just
are
be
the
cumbersome.
hyphen.
It would be cumbersome.
KSS.
All right,
Yes.
23andMe. So Deno in the Northeast says, you guys keep glossing over the fact that it was this dude's coaching to go up 22-0 in the first place. Still best winning percentage in Eagles history. Not a small sample size anymore. All he does is win. I don't give a crap about his decisions.
You can't. No, you can't say I don't give
mean,
a crap.
you can't.
All he
You literally
does
can't
is
say
win.
that.
I get on its face. You don't want to all right, I'm just going to take the win and move on. But you have to start thinking that's going to
They're lucky it was the Jags.
you can't.
The Jags suck.
This is some of the same stuff we talked about in the Falcons game, which ended up a loss,
They lost, yeah.
and in the Browns game, which ended up a win, but not for the sake of winning.
Yeah, all they do is win. He literally made a bad call against the Falcons game, in which it led to them
Cost
losing.
them a game they should have
Literally.
been a 3-foot putt to win. I asked that texter again, does he believe that another team would go, oh, yeah, Sirianni's available? Hire him.
Well, he'd bring the
zero.
tush push with him.
I say 0 would do that. By the way, stop doing the tush push when you got big guys out.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah,
Stop doing it. I think we can
By the
retire
way,
that.
and you
We're all done.
Not all the time. No, you can use it occasionally.
good
You
with
just don't have to be. It would be really good if, oh, wait a minute, you have Saquon Barkley and a great offensive line, 4th and 1.
Maybe just run
Maybe. That's crazy,
That's
Amy. You're
the
nuts.
4th and 1 where he goes for it and he has Jalen roll out, or Kellen Moore called the play, whatever. But, like,
the rollout, I'm like, he's on an historic game, too, by the way.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
By the way,
It's not like he was trying to get him going. Like, let's give Saquon the ball to get him going. He was gone and went.
He was gone, yeah.
Jalen's giving me a lot of good vibes, though.
Yes, he's been tremendous.
He's been great.
I'm feeling.
The last couple weeks of him have been wonderful.
I think everything in it very well may be the comfort level.
Yeah.
And he's now just getting very comfortable. But he looks.
Ever since they changed the offense, which we had been asking
Exactly.
for, and Lane Johnson had to go to the coaching staff during the bye week and ask for the offensive change. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Radio guy gets one again.
You could say it that way, or you could say patience pays off.
No, it was-
someone
They
was
changed
asking.
the offense has
they
changed.
It's
changed
changed.
everything.
I mean, you can't look at this offense and think that's the
They
same as you saw.
everything.
You're right,
It's
but
changed.
patience for them to make that change.
No, but they changed everything.
No.
It wasn't patience.
Patience.
It was an overthrow
that
by
was
the
dumb.
players.
Yes.
That's not the right word.
Patience from the fan base to allow them to figure out
stop
what
it.
works.
There's
Get the
no
hell outta here.
He's
Stop
just
it.
trying to sell us on patience. There is no patience.
Hey, real quick, I want to give a shout out to somebody. Leslie, either Lowry or Lowery.
Okay.
But Leslie of Philadelphia.
Probably Lowry.
Probably Lowry.
Yeah, we'll go.
But you never know.
You
Well, you
never
have
know.
problems with Morrow, too. You have problems with Morrow. It's Lowry.
Yeah.
Anyway, Leslie.
Hello, Leslie.
Sent
Hello, Les.
a happy Halloween card to the station.
That's awfully
Like,
fun.
I love that.
Addressed to everybody.
That's very friendly.
And at Halloween and all year through, it's a treat to know someone like you. Usually we get letters from people that are basically the Zodiac killer.
Yes.
This is nice.
We do.
That is
And
nice.
so
That is
thank you,
sweet.
Miss Leslie, for sending this
Well,
to everybody here at the
Happy
Fanatic.
Now,
Halloween.
you did not grow up here, and you're too young to know. Captain Noah, he would have hung that. Like behind you,
Oh.
he would hang all the cards that he got and everything.
And maybe
in
don't
the
invite
TV
people to
sky.
start doing that.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we do that.
But I just like it. Like, usually it's...
Some of them are in
You guys
code.
suck.
Yeah,
we hate
there's
you.
one.
Like, this,
Maybe don't
this
hang
is
those.
a nice one. So thank you, Miss Leslie. Amy, thank you,
Thank you guys.
for being us
Thanks
for with
adjusting.
the hour.
It's enjoyable. At
Enjoy
7 a.m.
your time with
Kids
the
are going to
kiddies.
run you
That's
ragged
right.
today.
Let's go.
All right, coming up next, we reset the show. We have today's headlines with Connor Thomas. Jeff McLane joins us at 8:10. And you'll hear another national media member, Chase Daniel. What? Chase Daniel has checked in on Nick Sirianni. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Sixers fall to the Suns. I'm Connor Thomas, and this update is brought to you by Bradford White Water Heaters. When you need a new water heater, choose one that's built to be the best. Choose Bradford White. Last night on the Fanatic, you could have heard the Sixers take on the Phoenix Suns late night out there in the desert. Unfortunately, it was a 116-118 loss to the Suns, but it was the debut of Paul George, so you got to see number 8 for the first time in a Sixers uniform. He had 15 and 5 in 32 minutes. Tyrese Maxey had 32 points on his 24th birthday, so some good in there, but unfortunately came up short. The Sixers will play the Clippers Wednesday at 10 p.m. You can hear that game as well right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Nick Sirianni got another chance yesterday in his day after press conference to talk about his decision-making. The Eagles win over the Jaguars, and, well, he doubled down.
You know, looking back on it, and I'm thinking, would I do anything different? And to be honest, sometimes I say absolutely. In this particular case, I felt like we did the right thing in all those scenarios.
And people may disagree with that, but either way, the Eagles are 6-2. They'll be facing a backup quarterback on Sunday in Dallas. As we found out yesterday, Dak Prescott is expected to miss multiple weeks due to a hamstring injury. Cooper Rush is the Cowboys' backup quarterback. We'll talk to Jeff McLane coming up at 8:10 a.m. And, coming up later tonight on The Fanatic, the Flyers take on the Hurricanes at 7 p.m. down in Carolina. I'm Connor Thomas, reminding you to check out our Birds Insider special Wednesday night at 7 with Andrew DeCecco on YouTube and 97.5 The Fanatic.
Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni on the Birds' 28-23 win over the Jaguars.
Everything in the moment, I'm always doing what I think's best for the football team. You know, today it didn't work. That's the way it goes. That's the hat I have to wear. You know, when we get a 4th down and we convert a 4th down, nothing's really said. When we don't, you know, I understand that there's going to be questions.
Philly is now 6-2 with a 4-game winning streak.
I have to be able to have the balls to do that at the end of the day. And
Philadelphia's source for breaking sports news. 97.5 The Fanatic at 97.5thefanatic.com.
Hey guys, Andrew, the NBA is back, and FanDuel, in partnership with Valley Forge, it's America's #1 sports book. They want you to catch all the action because right now, FanDuel is giving all users 3 months of NBA League Pass. So let's say you were waiting for the Sixers game last night, and you were like, I want to watch some sort of NBA action. You could have watched games that happened at 7 o'clock that were out of market. All you have to do to catch every tip-off and buzzer beater is place any $5 bet on the NBA. You'll get 3 months of NBA League Pass courtesy of FanDuel once you make that $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com/fanatic. That's FanDuel.com/fanatic and get 3 months of NBA League Pass courtesy of FanDuel. I would take a look at Tyrese Maxey's overs in the next couple of games before Joel Embiid comes back because Paul George will make his life easier. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. You got to be 21 plus and present in Pennsylvania. After 3-month free trial, the full price of League Pass will be automatically charged monthly. Cancel anytime. No refunds, terms, restrictions, and embargoes apply. Limit 1 pass per customer. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
It's time to review the top 3 highlights of the day. I'm joined, as always, by my co-anchor, Snoop.
Hey, what up, though?
Snoop, number 1 has to be getting the new iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence at T-Mobile.
Yeah, you should hustle down to T-Mobile like a dog chasing a squirrel chasing a nut.
Nice analogy, Snoop. Dogs do love to chase squirrels.
And squirrels love to chase those nuts.
On to highlight number 2, at T-Mobile, families can save 20% every month versus the other big guys.
That is very impressive. You know, y'all can take some of those savings and buy some Snoop merchandise.
That's exactly what I'm planning on doing with my savings, Snoop. Now, take it away, Snoop.
Head to T-Mobile.com and get the new iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence on them. Now drop that jingle.
With 24 monthly bill credits, eligible trade-in on Go 5G Next. Well-qualified customers plus tax and $35 connection charge. Cancel entire account before receiving 24 bill credits, and credit stop and balance on required finance agreement too. Bill credits end if you pay off device early. See how you can save versus the other big guys at T-Mobile.com/switch. Apple Intelligence coming fall 2024.
Catch this weekend's football action with Corona Extra. Grab a case today at North Penn Beverage in Souderton and enter for your chance to win exclusive prizes, including a trip for 2 to see the Birds in Washington on December 22nd. Just scan the QR code on the Corona Extra display at select locations like North Penn Beverage in Souderton. Whether you're watching at home or tailgating, make sure you're stocked up with Corona Extra. Visit 975thefanatic.com for details and contest rules. Corona, the official tailgate beer of 97.5 The Fanatic.
Get Benari Jewelers' unbeatable price, plus up to 20% off thousands of engagement rings and wedding bands. It's happening next weekend, November 15th through 17th. 3 days of spectacular savings on virtually all Benari Jewelers' fabulous rings and bands. Up to 20% savings. And the selection is like double the norm, with top designers here with their entire collections. Tacori, Sylvie, A. Jaffe, and more. Best values of the year plus special financing. Details at BenariJewelers.com. November 15th through 17th only, and only at Benari Jewelers in Exton and Newtown Square.
It's Cowboys week. The Eagles have momentum. Wednesday night at 7. A special edition of the Birds Insider with Andrew DeCecco. Insight and perspective you can only get here. Watch this live on YouTube or listen here on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Go Birds.
WPEN and WPEN HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia. A Beasley Media Group station. Broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios. Powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. This is Kincade and Salciunas, Philadelphia Sports Talk. 97.5 The Fanatic.
It is 8 a.m. on Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Our man Jeff McLane joins the show coming up at 8:10. We have today's headlines with Connor Thomas at 8:05, and you'll hear from Chase Daniel momentarily, former Eagle great.
What?
Former Eagle great.
He should have shown up on payday with a ski mask.
Yeah, he should have.
And from his analysis of the NFL, I'd sort of say that he continues to do so.
Well, he spoke about Nick Sirianni, so you'll hear from that coming up in a second. But, dude, we just had a food drop, and my mouth is still salivating.
They are biscuits made from scratch. And when I tell you, delicious, soft, flaky, the Biscuit Lady dropped it off. You go to visitthebiscuitlady.com. Visit thebiscuitlady.com from Plymouth Meeting. Absolutely awesome. Handmade from scratch biscuits.
But here's the thing, John. It's not just like a biscuit that you would get like a normal biscuit.
No.
No, I just had a blueberry-filled biscuit.
That's what I had.
And it was a fresh blueberry.
It's not like a blueberry muffin. It's a biscuit, but it's got the blueberries.
The same buttery, flaky feel, but with a blueberry on the inside.
Only 6 ingredients.
It was
Only 6
amazing.
ingredients in the entire thing. Check out visitthebiscuitlady.com. We appreciate her in Plymouth meeting.
Were one of those ingredients holy water or like something?
Well, that would be sort of sacrilegious, but I could imagine.
Okay, but something
like that.
heavenly. Like
it tastes heavenly.
That was the best biscuit I ever had in my life.
That was a very good biscuit.
Yeah, it was really good. That is about as good.
I never thought biscuits had more game to them.
No, they did.
I thought biscuit was just a biscuit.
Bro, there are
Sometimes you could do a
levels to
biscuit
this biscuit.
That's what I'm
sandwich.
going to tell you. You were south of the Mason-Dixon line for college.
Oh, yeah.
Though I had to push that on you. I have not tasted a biscuit that quality.
Up here? Yeah,
north
yeah,
of the
I understand
Mason-Dixon
that.
line.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Really great
It's
stuff.
like grits. I had grits
yeah.
down in South Carolina.
It's totally
best grits
different.
I ever in my
Yeah,
life.
they're the best.
I've tried having them up here.
It's not the same.
Nothing.
Not just like a cheesesteak down south.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you to the biscuit lady. I love
Really
that.
good.
All right. Chase Daniel, the latest national media member that has checked in on Nick Sirianni. Let's take a listen to what the former Eagles backup quarterback had to say.
They have the number 1 total defense, the number 2 scoring defense, the number 1 pass defense, and the number 2 rush defense. They are balling in that, okay? But they're not back because their coach, Nick Sirianni, is holding them back. The Philadelphia Eagles and the players bailed out Nick Sirianni once again. He took 9 points off the board. They should have had 37 points scored in that game, which would have tied a season high. So for me, it's a pattern because if you do it once, right. If you do it twice, okay. When you do it 3 times, that's the issue. I've never seen a more talented team come together and their coach continually hold them back.
The Philadelphia Eagles?
Yeah, some good things, some bad things from that.
That tells me Chase Daniel didn't do his homework.
That's a misspeak.
If you say 9
the 9
points off the board, it shows me he didn't do his homework at Seuss. It's somebody like a producer said to him, you're going to talk about this.
Yeah.
Because I don't in any way think Nick Sirianni took 9 points off the board. That's ridiculous.
Well, it depends on whether
Because
you
if
agree
you
with
watch
the decisions
him,
or
but
not.
if you watch his normal game, he
Correct.
normally up 10-0, going for it on that 4th and 3.
Totally for it.
Totally for it.
Yep.
And the way his defense was balling out, the way his offense was going, like that was lazy.
Yeah.
That was lazy.
That was a bit of a lazy one.
Come on.
That's a screaming head talking show.
Well, that's because
on that-
he's trying
it's on that
to make his name.
Yeah, because he just kind of started
'Cause
this
he's new.
year,
Yeah, he
and
did.
now
Well,
he's all over the
He
place.
stopped stealing money as a backup.
You know, he's this year's David Carr, not Derek Carr.
No, David Carr.
Yeah, but David Carr was on NFL Network
That was
last year.
Yeah, he's been on for a while, but he just
No, but last year he said Marcus Mariota should have been the starting quarterback over Jalen Hurts. Like, I think he was trying to
make a name.
Yeah, he's Chase Daniels this year's David Carr or last year's David Carr.
There you go.
All right, it's time now for today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
What do we got?
What up, boys? All right, if my mouth's a little dry from that biscuit, you'll have to forgive me.
No,
But
it's not dry.
Why would
because
it be
was
dry?
It was moist and delicious.
Well, it was, but I had 2 of them. So
Oh, well, there you go.
So did I.
Yeah.
My mouth is salivating.
It's a very good biscuit. If someone needs a slugger like Nick Castellanos or outfield help in Brandon Marsh or third baseman Alec Boehm, the Phillies are listening. That's a quote from a Bob Nightingale article that came out yesterday. So, John, I know you're a guy who wants some changes. Andrew, maybe a little bit less so than John, but you want some changes with this team as
I
well.
want changes. I would like Nick Castellanos back.
I want
would.
2 of the 3 of them gone. You choose the 2. I want 2 of the 3 of them gone because the log jam of what this team isn't good enough to win it. They're not.
Your 4-hole hitter needs to have pop. Alec Boehm does not.
Like I say, you pick 2 of the 3, and I'm fine with it because you cannot have 3. Well, I don't consider it. It says you have 2 platoon outfield positions.
That's
That's not a recipe for success in and of itself.
I hate.
You can do whatever you want. Your name's on the show, dude.
I hate to be harsh. I feel like I had a season wasted because
you did.
I had to watch the Brandon Marsh, Johan Rojas, Austin Hayes, Weston Wilson.
Like it's
how many more outfielders do we have experiment?
I don't understand it. I want outfielders. I want minimum 2 outfielders that start 145 games.
Yeah.
And I want one that starts 100, the other one to start 120.
We talked ourselves into 2/3 of the outfield having 0 pop.
It's dumb.
And being okay with it because of their glove, which their gloves are good. I'm not taking away from them. But Brandon Marsh is not reaching that ceiling that people had of his when it came to his offensive production.
No, he's not.
And Johan Rojas, good for him for hitting around 240. He's got no pop. So your outfield is just slap hitters or like Brandon Marsh is Mr. Strikeout.
And you got Trey Turner playing top golf under pressure. And you got Nick Castellanos, who's boom or bust, and then he got really busty. Then he got really boom.
He boomed a lot.
He did.
He was actually great in the playoffs.
He was honestly their best hitter.
Yeah, you'll have a different starting outfielder in either center or left.
Nick Castellanos has been one of your better players over the last 2 seasons.
You think only one, Connor?
Only one, yes.
And you think you'll have the same third baseman?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I know the spoiler alert. I won't ruin it for you if you haven't binged yet. If you haven't binge-watched 2025, you're not winning a World Series.
Well, John, if that left fielder is Juan Soto.
It's not going to be.
You never know.
It's not going to
You never know, Johnny.
We've got a new season.
I know.
We've got a new season getting rolling. College basketball has kicked off, and we had a great call and a great game last night. Go ahead and take a listen to this one.
Looking to go up top to Zoni, trying to run to get it. Stanford takes it away. Zion Stanford down the floor. Rises it up and sends it home.
Not only is college basketball back, but we got to give some love to our guy Ray Dunn on the call last night.
He was amazing yesterday.
Ray did a great job.
And he did both men's and women's. He did the women's game afterward as well. Really cool that Ray was on ESPN Plus yesterday. And how about that raucous Temple crowd in the background?
I thought it was great. And Ray,
the team they should invest in more than the football team. Oh, did I say that out loud?
When young broadcasters get their opportunity on bigger stages, a lot of times they start playing Gus Johnson Jr.
Yes.
And screaming about a tight end making a catch in the first quarter.
Yeah.
I loved Ray Dunn's measured approach. We should all be very proud of what Ray Dunn did. And by the way, the Owls off to a good start.
Yeah, 1-0, baby.
Yeah,
Good job,
college
Ray.
basketball looks fun this year. All right, we'll round out with something we started the show with.
You posed a question to me. You sent it to me yesterday, and I love it. And it's whether or not you feel better this year at this time than you did last year.
Here's something that we haven't brought up yet.
Okay.
And we kind of touched on it with the whole idea, like last year, we still thought this team was coming off that Super Bowl. We were feeling good about where they were. The quarterback was a guy that I think we had a lot more faith in last year. And that's not a knock on where Jalen Hurts is. He's played pretty good over the last couple of weeks. Like, he's had a good season. But this point last year, he was a guy who outdueled Mahomes and was just winning. And we thought, oh, this dude might be like the guy. And I don't feel that way about him right now. So I don't want to say the well's been poisoned with Jalen Hurts, but I don't have the blind faith that I had at this point last year in him.
Look, again, it's hard to ignore what transpired last season when we discuss this topic.
Sure.
But if I were to be honest with you, this time last year, I'm feeling better than I am right now. That does not mean I think this team stinks or they're not going anywhere. This time last year, they were coming off of a Super Bowl. They only lost one game. They found ways to win. Connor's point about Jalen Hurts, we saw him in that Super Bowl, and we're like, all right, he's going to get back to that at some point. And, you know, they kept on finding ways to win.
I'm very proud of what Jalen Hurts has managed to. I think he's righted the ship. I really do.
Yeah, ever since they changed the offense.
Exactly. They're making things more comfortable.
And we have said that they did not put him in the best position.
And Saquon is so much more comfortable the way they're running the offense this way.
Oh, yeah.
Just is.
They make each other's lives easier. Saquon Barkley's life is easier not playing for the New York Giants.
Well,
and Jalen Hurts' life is easier because he has Saquon Barkley.
There you go. It's a copacetic relationship.
Damn right it is. All right, good job, Connor, with today's headlines. Now, let's head to the Comcast Business Hotline. Every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business help you move forward with what's next. This man does a tremendous job covering the Eagles for the Philadelphia Inquirer, Inquirer.com. And you got to check out his podcast as well, Uncovering the Birds, which
must
is tremendous.
do that.
Oh, it's really good. That, of course, is Jeff McLane. Jeff, good morning. How you doing today?
Hey, guys. What's up?
So, second time this season where the Eagles won, and the storyline is more so the head coach than the actual players. We will talk to you about the game, but yesterday he stood by his decisions that he made on Sunday. Would love to get your reaction to that. The decisions that he made, were you for them, against them, and how do you feel that he's standing by what he decided and he thinks that was best for the team?
Yeah, I mean, even over the course of the game, I didn't think anything was egregious, and then I kind of went back and looked at them individually, and I think you have to look at the process more than the results. And I would say, taking each one on its own, I really didn't see anything egregiously wrong with the decisions he made. I mean, the 2-point conversions, yeah, I mean, that's what you do. I mean, they've been successful doing that a lot of times when they've given just 1 yard. You run the play that you've been successful with 90% of the time. So I don't see anything wrong with either of those. 4th down decisions, same thing at those times. kind of understood why he went for it. And maybe the 4th and inches, probably maybe, it seems like they lost a little faith in the tush push after it's been stopped twice. They are, without Jordan Mailata. I think in that one situation they didn't have. Oh, actually, they did have Saquon on the field because they ran a play that they've been successful with before, and they used Saquon as the kind of a decoy, which made sense to me. Obviously, good job by the Jaguars sniffing that one out. I thought maybe the 57-yard field goal, I probably would have gone for it maybe there on 4th and 4 rather than kick it. Although Jake is typically pretty good from that distance, that's a long ways, and he hasn't been kicking as much. And I think maybe the majority thought the opposite. Especially if you look at the analytics, I think it was a toss-up. So for me, I didn't really see anything that was that bad. I think
you're also you're pro.
Let me just finish here. And part of the equation is, when you are evaluating it, is they didn't score. They weren't successful on those plays. So that is part of the evaluation too. So that's fair to criticize him because of that. But there have obviously been plenty of times when he's been aggressive and it's panned out for him, and we have to point out those times as well because that's been Nick's MO throughout his tenure as a head coach. So I don't see anything greatly. I didn't see anything was terribly wrong with it.
The idea though that you're taking right before the half, you're taking points off the board when you're up 3 scores.
But you're always potentially taking points off the board when you're gambling on 4th and down.
That was right before the half though, and it's already you're already up 17-0. You just walk off at halftime and say we're up 3 scores. That, to me, is you're complicating something, Jeff, that's easy to me. And more importantly, the idea that he didn't want to go up 9 and trust Jake Elliott to go up 9 in the 4th quarter halfway through, to me, is mind-boggling. I can't agree.
Yeah, but
with
I think if you look at the look at the numbers, I mean, it's overwhelmingly you're giving yourself a better chance to win if you go for it there, considering the down situation, etc.
But then he kicks it. But then he attempts a 57-yarder later, which is counter to what he did earlier.
Yeah, so I had a little issue with that, and that was the same issue I had in the Atlanta game when a lot of people didn't like him throwing on that 3rd down pass or whatever it is. I thought it was a good play. I mean, Jaquan just dropped it, and there's another. But I would have gone for it there rather. I would have gone for it there rather than kick the field goal in that situation. So I think. It's fair to point out that maybe at times Nick has been a little inconsistent, but this is who he is. I mean, he's been aggressive, and the run to the Super Bowl in 2022. That's what helped get him there. They were overwhelmingly successful on 4th down, and in this case, I think it's fair to point out, you didn't succeed, and that is part of the evaluation. I'm sure it's part of the evaluation that Jeffrey Lurie is making, but he has to look, and I have to look when I'm looking at these situations, each one individually, and. Was it a sound decision, or was it rational? Did it make sense? And I think in most cases, I didn't think anything was ridiculous.
And Jeff, over the years of talking to you, I know that you are in favor of being a little bit more aggressive. So I'm not surprised that you have this opinion, you have this thought. But I also look back at it, to me, it wasn't the result. I see them kick the extra point. Just decline the penalty, you're up 3 scores. I know 18 is more than 17, Jeff. I do have a college degree. But 3 scores is 3 scores, and it's one thing if you're playing Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, and you're trying to find every single advantage that you can get. You're playing the Jags that had 6 yards of total offense in the first half. You let them back in the football game.
Well, I think, again, there were a few things that let them back in the game. Yeah, they didn't, some of those decisions went against him. The fumble that, I think the NFL is going to eventually come out and say that was a bad decision.
Yeah, I agree.
On their part. So that was kind of freaky too. I mean, that was 7 points right there. Not to defend the Eagles. You guys know me. I'll be critical when I feel I need to be critical, and I've been critical of Nick in a lot of these circumstances. But I feel like people are just being a little too over the top on this because, in those cases they failed, and again, that is part of it. You can criticize them for failing, but when I look at the decision-making process, I didn't see anything that was egregious.
Jeff, when you see the how this Eagles defense continues to evolve, are you more likely to believe that the youngsters that are contributing now potentially could hit a wall, or are more likely to continue to ascend?
Well, I think it's fair to point out that Jalen Carter's just playing way too many snaps. I'd be concerned about that. I think he only missed like 3 downs against the Jaguars, if that's what you're talking about. Oh, you're talking about the offensive evolution.
No. I'm talking about I'm talking about the defensive guys, like the youngsters on defense.
On both sides, right?
Yeah.
There's evolution on both sides. Again, I feel like if I was looking at Nick right now, and this is something we talk about in the podcast, it's like I kind of look at what he's done to kind of turn this thing around. The way the offense has really evolved and become run oriented, and the way they're utilizing. Saquon Barkley, obviously, but just the run game and helping, taking something off of Jalen Hurts, who's been playing his best football this season, hasn't had a turnover. I'd look at defensively, the tackling has been noticeably improved. Those are stuff that Nick has implemented in practice. I mean, they're practicing tackling in the middle of the season. That doesn't typically happen, and you're seeing the direct result on the field. The turnovers, the defense is creating turnovers all of a sudden. Now, all that being said, I think we have to put this all in the proper context. The teams that they've beaten the last 4 weeks are a collective 10-26. So I'm not saying this team is great and that there aren't flaws in there. But to answer your question, Cooper DeJean is going to be a good player in this league. I think it's pretty clear. I don't think you're asking too much of him. And Devonte Maddox again showed why he should be on the field. He played 1 down and had into the pass interference penalty.
Yeah, that was a blemish on Vic Fangio doing the one play of Avonte Maddox that late in the game in a big spot.
Well, I kind of understood why they went dime in that situation, but he might not be my 6th guy. But then, whatever. I hate to crap on Maddox.
Of course.
But and then Quinyon Mitchell. He's starting cornerback if that you're asking. So I don't think. That's the thing I'd be concerned about defensively. There are definitely some holes on defense, and again, I'd be concerned about, like as I mentioned at the top, Jalen Carter playing as much as he's playing.
Jeff, it's the trade deadline at 4:00 today. 2-parter for you. Are you expecting the Eagles to make any noteworthy moves? And is there anything to this Bryce Huff stuff that you're hearing that all of a sudden he could be potentially on the block?
I've seen that put out by a national reporter. I put it out there just because. He only played 6 snaps. And they said the hand thing. Well, if the hand thing was an issue, you wouldn't have played him in the last, unless you were completely forced to do it. Maybe he's got something, but if he's hurt, it seemed, something was not connecting for me in terms of the hand issue, because you had him on that last series, rushing the passer, right? He wasn't getting there, but he was rushing the passer. I think they would love to get rid of him, but obviously, we all know, they signed a 3-year, $51 million contract, and it's going to be tough to move him. It could be like, hey, your mistake for my mistake, and the Eagles give someone a try. It could be addition by subtraction. I think we've seen Nolan Smith step up a little bit. Brandon Graham, they were kind of lessening his snaps. Then he played a lot this past game because no Bryce Huff. I'd be a little concerned about that over the long haul. But yeah, I think edge rusher is an area that you can always bring in a guy, and they don't really have to kind of learn a lot. And same with the interior defensive line. You just add to that, and I think that could be potentially what Howie does. That'd probably be the number one area I'd see him focus on. But it could be running back. It's a little bit of a decline, a little bit more than just a little bit. But if Saquon gets hurt, and you got Kenny, and Kenny's fine, but you probably want to maybe upgrade there. So that I could see them doing something there potentially. I get the feeling that it's gonna be hard this cycle to make a trade. And as we've seen recently, a lot. And as Vic Fangio said last week, he's correct. A lot of times these kind of rentals don't work out. If you're making a move for a guy that you think is going to be here for a while and you really want him, and you think you could sign him to an extension, then I think that makes more sense. But hey, Howie likes to make moves, so let's see what happens.
Jeff, for the people that always say that you're always critical of the Eagles, you sided with Nick Sirianni today. So people are wrong.
and listen to the podcast too, everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, listen, but I feel like it's not that I'm pretty objective. I think fans probably think I'm against the Eagles because I try to be objective. Because
you don't say "Go Birds" at the end of your tweets.
Right. So I'll call them out, or I'll report things that may not reflect kindly upon them, and I may do the direct opposite. Obviously, when things are going well, and right now, I think things are going pretty well.
Jeff, you're the man. We appreciate it as always. Enjoy today. I know it's going to be a busy one with the trade deadline, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, guys. Bye. Talk to
There he
you
is,
soon.
Jeff McLane on the Comcast Business Hotline. Quote, I think they would love to get rid of him.
But I don't
About
think they
Bryce
will.
Young. Yeah, I don't
the
think so
dead cap
either.
money is not going to make it happen.
All right, so coming up next, notice he said running back. That's what I was pointing at you for.
I believe it.
You've been talking about it a little bit.
It tells me Jeff may have talked to some of the same people I did.
Yeah, exactly. Coming up next, we have our second opinion segment where we talk about something we may not have talked about yesterday from the game. And we didn't get to talk much about the game, so there's a lot to unpack. And also, a major trade in the NFL has happened. And it hurts the Eagles. We'll tell you who next. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. 32 on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic on this Tuesday morning, a day about sports.
It is a day we make completely about sports.
Yes. We have our second opinion segment in a minute, but I told you major trade that hurts the Eagles in the NFL. Zadarius Smith, who is a tremendous player. He's been a part of that incredible Browns defensive front this year and last year. He's now going to the Lions. And the Lions, of course, lost Aiden Hutchinson, have not really missed a beat since losing him. And they just get better by acquiring Zadarius Smith. So he's got 5 sacks already this season, 65 sacks in his career. He's a hell of a player.
He's a hell of a player. And they have him under contract for next year, too.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize
he's not
that.
He's not a rental. He is a year-and-a-half player.
And they didn't trade much. Zadarius Smith and a 2026 7th-round pick go to Detroit for a 2025 5th and a 2026 6th. So not high draft capital.
I can't believe it was that cheap.
I guess it's because of the extra year.
Well, money too.
But still,
that's cheap.
For a Lions team that's like in win now mode.
That's a
cheap trade.
It's a no-brainer. Oh man! Wow. No, it did get worse. And if by the way, there will be Eagles fans go ho hum. Doesn't matter.
No, it's not
it matters. It's not. That's not a ho hum deal. That's
a big move. That's a team that's trying to win a Super Bowl that gets a player that helps you win a Super Bowl, and they didn't have to give up like 14 first-round picks for him. Like that's a great trade for Detroit. That sucks, but we'll keep an eye on what the Eagles might do before today's 4 o'clock trade deadline. All right, it is time now for our second opinion segment.
You might not always agree with what you hear. Sometimes you need a second opinion. Brought to you by the consultants in medical oncology and hematology.
Tell us more about them, Johnny.
I love these folks. Dr. Sprandio ×3 and the entire crew there. I was in and saw them the other day, and I'll see them again next week for my 1-year report card. But they take care of you. Make them your first opinion, not your second. But just make sure you meet them. CMOH.org.
I'm going to say something that is not breaking news to all of you.
All right.
But I wonder if it's breaking news to a lot of people nationally. And not just media members. I mean fans.
Okay.
Devonte Smith is really good. But because he plays on the same team as A.J. Brown, and because he plays on the same team as Saquon Barkley, and Jalen Hurts has now become more of a national figure. Remember, he was the face of the Olympics that are coming to L.A. in a couple of years, right?
Hope Joel Embiid plays in them.
Devonte Smith, just another day, 4 catches, 87 yards, a touchdown. That one-handed grab that elite receivers make. And because he's on the same team with A.J. Brown, he obviously does not get the same focus when people talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, for crying out loud, we're saying that A.J. Brown will go down as arguably the greatest receiver in Eagles franchise history. Devonte Smith still freaking balls out. And seeing what he was able to do in a game where you lost A.J. Brown yet again, and on a 3rd and 22 where you needed the play, and he not only catches it one-handed, but gets his feet inbounds and toe taps. He's an elite wide receiver that we know about, but he's only going to explode on the scene even more.
I continue to just be amazed by the poise, the confidence, and more importantly, the one-on-one matchups that right now we're seeing Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean win.
Yeah.
And it was pointed out to me by a couple good football men the other day in the press box. Just watch. Watch how much when the Eagles are on defense that right now Vic Fangio is letting them be on an island.
Yeah.
And have one-on-one matchups. And they are winning far more than they ever get beat.
That one play he made in the slot this past week, I forget who it was on, but it was one-on-one, and it was a design route to get the ball out in the flat. And he just brings him down and stops him short of the first down marker. I mean, and he just started a couple of weeks ago. Remember, he missed time in training camp.
The tackling that this team is doing this year, and maybe it's just the old school coach teaching them.
Could be.
The Eagles are now a superior tackling defense after they were arguably the worst in football last year.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Go ahead, Connor.
All right, so you brought up two great defensive players, Johnny, and I don't think either of them were the best defensive player on the field on Sunday.
I was going to bring him up, but I went with Devonte instead.
He
How do
did
you know
not
he's
get
bringing up?
enough love. Zach Bond was
Oh, my gosh.
unbelievable.
Unreal.
10 total tackles, 7 solo, crazy interception. And you know what everyone's talking about on Monday? Oh, N'Kobe Dean, the pick to end the game, which was a great play.
Great play.
Dude, how often do we see balls tipped in the air in the middle of the field and people are laying out, not linebackers, corners, safeties, and they can't get there, they can't be athletic enough to make the play. And I'm not knocking those players. It's an insanely difficult play. Zach Bond has been so damn good for this team, and he was so damn good again on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, Vic Fangio, I tweeted this out, should go to Canton just for the discovery of Zach Bond. He's not even playing his natural position.
No, wait, here's what I think is. He is.
Well, correct.
But this is where is that he was able to identify it from limited tape.
Yeah. He was a special teams guy. When they
I can't
him,
get over
When
it.
they acquired him, and, Vic Fangio was like, yeah, we're going to try to move Zach, middle linebacker. I remember being like, what? This is what we're doing?
I had to Google him. I had no idea who he was. No idea who he was.
Nobody did. People will lie to you soon and say, I knew that Bond was a player.
I had no idea who he was. Had to go read about him and talk to a buddy of mine in New Orleans about him. And they were like, well, I don't see it, but I guess he's going to get his opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, that guy,
Connor, it's nice.
guy's been tremendous week in and week out. I mean, seriously, has there been a moment where we've gone, oh, man, that one's on Zach Bond? Like, I can't think of
Not
one.
really, no.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
All right, that's our second opinion segment.
CMOH.org, the fantastic folks. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so make them your first choice.
Yeah, do that. All right, what do we have on the text line there, Connor, on any of our topics today? It's been a busy day. We had Amy in for the entire 7 o'clock hour, normally the 9 o'clock hour. But with Election Day today, her kids are off because it's a polling place. So she had to come in earlier, and we appreciate that she did. So what do we have on the text line, Connor?
First-time texter here checking in on the Nick Sirianni thing, and he says, Nick Sirianni is the Family Guy bit where Peter Griffin just keeps saying, hit me when he's playing blackjack, even when he gets to 21, and then says, hit me again. That is his coaching strategy in go-for-it situations.
It's interesting.
I agree with you.
Jeff was in favor of all of them. And
I can't believe it. I got to tell you.
Well, Jeff, I think, really looks at the analytics of things. And analytically, sure.
No. I'm going to tell you right now, bull pucky. There is no way analytics, you got to take it. You cannot take, okay, analytics, people will say to you that, well, when you get the penalty and you're halfway to the goal, that's where you go for two there.
Right.
But you cannot use analytics and take out the context. The context of the situation was you were already up 3 scores. You took it off the board.
I would say if it's
dumb.
Let's say it was the first touchdown of the game. All right, do it. Go up 8-0. But it's 3 scores. 3 scores is 3 scores. Plain and simple. 17 versus 18. I don't give a damn that 18 is greater than 17, according to Nick Sirianni's chart. Anyways,
I'm telling you. And the greater and less land sign, that's good.
Yeah.
Now I know. It's the shark. It's the shark
It wants
eating.
the bigger number.
The shark wants to eat the bigger thing.
It wants to get more full.
Okay.
Whether it's greater than or less than.
That's good.
All right, coming up next. This time tomorrow, I would preview. Coming up next, we check the NFL.com power rankings. I want to take a guess on where they might be. Because I wonder how much the Nick Sirianni factor keeps them down. Because remember, they didn't climb up at all last week. And I wonder if Sirianni keeps them down. You'll hear from Chris Canty, who had his thoughts on Nick Sirianni. I told you, we have a bunch of national media members who chimed in yesterday. We're playing them for you throughout the show today. It is Kincade and Salciunas on this Tuesday morning, all about sports, 97.5 The Fanatic. So
you beat the Jags by 5. If you move up, why are you moving up?
And that's the thing. Like
you had to survive the Jags with a turnover in the last minute of play.
Right.
Like, they better not move. If they move up, then people are just going by record. And they're just voting by, okay.
Well, if they move up, the Steelers are 6-2. The Texans lost, so they're 6-3 now on the season. If I have that correct. Yeah, they lost the Thursday night game. They could jump the Texans. They've been more impressive in the last couple of weeks than the Texans have been.
And the Texans are dealing with some injuries, too.
Yeah, so if anything, the Steelers either stay at 9 because they didn't play last week because of the bye, and the Eagles jump them to 8, and the Texans fall down to 10 because the Vikings got the win, so they got to still be ahead of the Eagles. I don't know if the Packers drop after losing the Lions.
The Packers have to drop.
I didn't think they should have been 6th last week.
The Packers need to drop behind the Eagles because they have a worse record than the Eagles, and the Eagles beat them. There's no way they can be ahead of them.
So the Eagles should be inside the top 10.
They'd probably be 8.
Not 10th,
maybe
but
8,
inside.
8 or 9?
Yeah, I think so.
That's what I was thinking.
So they probably move up, and they could have moved up probably more had the game not ended the way that it did.
But the argument for them moving up, too, is how much you weight the head coach. Because if you see that 22-0 start, and you see Saquon 199 all-purpose yards, and Jalen Hurts doesn't have a turnover again, and Devonte Smith is unbelievable, and the defense makes some really big plays, you say, wow, the quality of this football team is looking like it's improving week to week. How much do you weigh the head coach is going to determine how much they move up.
It goes back to that article I read to you guys yesterday. I think it was from CBS, where the guy just straight up said, I'm telling you right now, the Eagles are going to lose early in the playoffs, and it's because of Nick Sirianni. Like, there might be somebody that writes these power rankings up and go, yeah, they're a great team, but. It's a pretty big but.
It is a big butt.
We're such idiots.
It's a pretty big butt. It is.
I'm glad you guys
You like big butts, and you cannot lie.
That's
what it is.
That is
Sir Mix-a-Lot, bro.
That is true.
That is very good, Connor.
That is true. All right, coming up next, we reset the show. We talk to you on the phones and the text messages, 610-632-0975. But we still have a lot to get into. Because yesterday was so Eagle-heavy and Nick Sirianni heavy, there was a lot of things that we didn't get to really get into. Now, we touched on the Jason Kelce situation that took place on Saturday, but he spoke for the first time yesterday, kind of. He spoke during the Monday Night Football Countdown show. You'll hear from Jason Kelce. And then we're going to talk about ESPN programming as well. Because we got into a, not heated debate, but a debate this morning.
We did.
You guys waste your time. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic. And better.
No, I mean, the accidents on the Schuylkill have been terrible because of your laziness. Terrible.
Oh, man, don't put that on me.
That's incredible.
All right, so we've been talking obviously a lot about Eagles today. It's been sports day. There's nothing else going on in the world, even though you should
there's
go
nothing.
out.
I mean,
you should go out and vote, but nothing else going on in the world.
Yes.
We've been trying to focus on more of the positives. Now, obviously, that's hard when Nick Sirianni had the decisions that he made on Sunday, so it's continued to be a Nick Sirianni kind of day. But our questions today at 610-632-0975 that we'd love to hear from you either on the text line or the call line. And again, we're going to play the Jason Kelce semi-apology coming up in a little bit.
If that was an apology, Jason has been overhearing when I apologize to my wife.
Bite your tongue. We'll get to it in a few minutes.
If that's an apology.
We'll get to the Jason Kelce semi-apology, and then we'll also get into a conversation about the Manningcast coming up in a little bit.
Okay.
But our topics today, do you feel better this time, this year, about the Philadelphia Eagles than you did this time last year about the Philadelphia Eagles? And it's interesting, John. Me and Connor and also Amy, who was in with us for the 7 o'clock hour, are all saying last year. Your reasoning for saying this year is totally spot on. The coordinators, Saquon Barkley, the defense is younger, and as I remember correctly, you were against bringing back both Darius Slay and James Bradbury.
No. I wanted one of them. Right.
Both,
Okay.
both.
Yes. I wanted one of them to come back, and it was absolutely who I wanted to go was James Bradbury.
And what you're seeing so far this year is the youth movement that we both wanted this offseason. I think you wanted a little bit earlier. And look at how this is paying off.
Oh, it really
for the Philadelphia Eagles with Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean.
It really is, and more importantly too is I didn't think Slay had the last 2 years in him though. Even though I said if you're keeping one, keep Slay, get rid of Bradbury, but I didn't think Slay's level of play would be close to this.
Right.
I mean,
it's been
to
very
me,
good.
we're both fanboys, and a buddy of mine accused me on the golf course the other day of being a fanboy for.
I'm a fanboy
for Slay.
I'm a fanboy for Darius Slay because I think people disrespect him.
I think Darius Slay is much better than the general announcement of.
I'm talking the player, right?
Yep,
on the field,
sure,
one-on-one with whoever he's defending. Darius Slay is disrespected in the city. Podcast, everything else, social media, have at it.
Right.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the guy that lines up against the opposing team's wide receiver, typically number one wide receiver, and does a tremendous job slowing that guy down or completely making him a non-factor in the game.
Sure.
I'm not talking about podcasts with Micah Parsons. I'm not talking about Twitter beefs.
Yeah, I don't care.
I'm talking about the player.
While we're on this real quick, I just want to pick your brain. Just a quick answer.
Okay.
Let's say the Eagles season is on the line, and a good quarterback and a good wide receiver are trying to complete a pass to win a game for the opposition. Would you rather have them throwing at Darius Slay or Quinyon Mitchell right now?
Who would I prefer?
Quinyon Mitchell.
Yes.
Quinyon Mitchell.
See, but then again, I saw Darius Slay make that ridiculous play.
Well, answer the question, coward.
2 weeks ago, Cincinnati.
Answer the question.
Look, then I'll go Quinyon Mitchell.
That's great. Like,
I'm
you're
going
right.
Quinyon Mitchell.
I would also go Quinyon Mitchell. But Darius Slay is like this amazing corner. Still, he's having a solid year. Like,
he's having a solid year.
And we're picking the guy who's played, 8 NFL games?
Because I think
he's been ridiculous.
Well, here's what I also notice is there was a I feel terrible because I'm going to bogart someone else's work here, and I can't think of who I was watching. But one of the people who breaks down, it wasn't Baldy, breaking down Eagles.
Oh, Andrew Salciunas.
No, it wasn't. It was a football guy. And a manly type guy.
Oh.
He was
Andrew DeCecco.
This guy was saying how often teams are not targeting Quinyon Mitchell.
Oh, so it wasn't Joe Banner.
It's like, yeah, exactly. Joe Banner's I think Joe Banner has one of those like track phones, or like the one where for grandma where you have there's 10 buttons on it.
I didn't understand his disdain for Quinyon Mitchell.
What was it was like
no
the flex on that. You guys don't know what you're talking about.
I have no idea what he was talking about.
It's unbelievable.
And then our other topic today, Nick Sirianni. Let's play the clip for you guys one more time before we get to the phones and the text messages. We're going to play both of them. We'll play cut 4 first, Connor. Here's Nick Sirianni explaining yesterday that he's sticking with the decisions that he made on Sunday.
Looking back on it, and I'm thinking, would I do anything different? And to be honest, sometimes I say absolutely. In this particular case, I felt like we did the right thing in all those scenarios. And I understand that I'll always be judged on the outcome, not the process, but I have to make sure that I stick to the process. You know, same with the players and our preparation throughout a week. We always have to stick to our process. And we've been really good at that, and it's helped us win a lot of games. Again, it's a lonely place. It's definitely a lonely place when you don't convert a fourth down, because I'll always take that on my shoulders, always. You know, at that time in that game and what we've done in the past, I was doing everything I thought to help our football team win the football game.
So it's led to another question where we say, would you rather him just stick with his beliefs, which is he believes that uber aggressive. Look, Jeff McLane was in favor of it.
Jeff McLane was defiantly in favor.
Yes. So would you rather, like, I honestly, seriously, as much as I hated the decisions, I'd rather it just be one way or another. Are you going to be the super aggressive guy or not? And even though the super aggressive guy, I think, hurt the Eagles' chances of winning, at least I will know week in and week out. Like I knew Doug Peterson back in the day was going to have an approach. I know that John Harbaugh is going to have an approach. I'd rather there just be an approach from Nick Sirianni one way or another at this point.
You know who's like this is it's not just Harbaugh. A guy we'll face later on in the year, Mike Tomlin tends to be like this.
He was one of the first go for two on a consistent basis guys,
like
because
go for
the
two
numbers
in the
told
first
him.
quarter.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
And so I know Mike Tomlin has an approach. So I kind of would rather just him do it, even though I disagree with a lot of the decisions.
I promise you this. Mike Tomlin is not going for it in the fourth quarter with a chance to go up 2 scores with a reliable kicker kicking a 40-something yarder. I mean, that was a terrible
And again, like Jeff, and I'm not trying to pick on Jeff now that he's not on the air anymore, but when we had Jeff McLane on,
he doesn't give a damn if we pick on him.
No, I know,
believe
but
me.
he does the whole, well, you know, if you go for it and convert, you have a better chance of winning. Yeah, but what if you don't?
Correct.
So they're up 5. If they convert that 4th and inches, the play where Jalen Hurts rolls to his right, great. First down, more clock ticks off.
More clock.
Hopefully they score a touchdown, and now it's a 12-point game unless he decides to go for 2 again.
By the way, it's another timeout. Timeouts are gone.
I understand it. But if you don't get it, then what happens?
Well, here's the thing, right?
It's a 1-score game still.
So we saw them convert 2 2-point conversions already. Jacksonville did. So if you go up and you're up 8, because they were up 5 at that point.
8, yeah.
You could still score and get that 2 and tie the ball game there. And if you believe in your offense and you think, hey, I really trust where we're at and how we're rolling right now, and if we put 7 on the board, it's ball game. I do understand that giving you a better chance. My bigger problem with that decision was the play call. The play call was flat out stupid.
Yeah, I didn't like the play call.
So, I didn't totally I understand how, according to numbers, you can make that work to say we have a better chance to win if we do that. That's not insane to me. It may not be your safest choice, but I can understand someone making that argument.
It's just the what if you don't?
Yeah,
and that's
what if you don't? It's everything, man.
I know, but sometimes, and maybe that's more conservative nature, right? Where you're trying to be safer. I go back to I've made this reference multiple times. Doug Peterson going for 2 to try to make it a 14-point game, going for 2 to make it a 7-point game instead of an 8-point game.
Okay.
If you don't get it, you're down 9, you lose. The game is over.
Yep.
Because there's 4 minutes left. You decide to go for 2 to try to make it a 7-point game so that a touchdown and extra point ties it instead of a touchdown and 2-point conversion. I understand it. But if you don't get the 2-point conversion, you might as well just go home. Because now there's 4 minutes left in the game. They're going to run out the clock. Even if they only run off 2 minutes, you still have only 2 minutes to score twice. Like, there are some times where consequences should outweigh the green chart.
Right. Yes, and I get it. And I think you're less of a go-for-it guy naturally than I am, too, which is part of this argument. Like, some of the decisions I think were done by Nick Sirianni. But I'm also a person who likes to go for it more often than I think the average football fan. So I wasn't bothered as much as you guys were. Not saying he had a good game, and maybe Jeff McLane is more aggressive because he uses the analytics, and he wasn't bothered because of that. So I think your baseline as a fan and someone who breaks down football is probably going to put you on different sides of this argument, even though everyone recognizes that there are probably some decisions he wants back.
Right. Now, hold on a second. Was it? No, they were not. Was it 5 or was it 6? It was 6.
When?
No, the turnover on downs.
The turnover on downs was 6.
It was 6.
Was it 6?
So
Oh,
it would have
okay.
been 9.
Yeah,
It
6
would
would've gone
have been a
9.
2-score game.
Well, then that's dumb.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's sometimes you got to realize, do the consequences outweigh the green chart? The green means go chart. You know what I mean?
He just doesn't make sense with his, and his explanations are worse.
And so he then continued to explain, and this is where I find it interesting. I believe I'm putting the guys in the right position, the best position in order to win, right? That's what he said in the previous clip we just played. But then he continues and he says this.
I talked to the players about this a little bit like 2 weeks ago when I was explaining the 4th and 3 that we went for against the New York Giants. I circled the players and I said, I don't go for this unless I trust, and I circled Jalen on the screen and I circled AJ on the screen and we converted. So you have that same trust. You trust. Not only do you trust your process, but you trust your players. And doing those two things, trusting your process and trusting your players, has given us a good track record of it. But hey, it didn't work yesterday. It's a lonely place when it doesn't work. But again, I don't know any other solution than to trust those two things and always constantly try to get better.
You shouldn't necessarily always trust both. It should be one way or another. Do you believe you're putting your team in the best position possible, or are you trusting your players? I get it. Sometimes you can say both.
You're not putting your team. Your team is always in a better position if they're up by 2 scores halfway through the 4th quarter.
Or 3 scores at halftime.
He contradicts exactly what is common sense. And you don't need to be an NFL player. You don't need to be an NFL coach. You don't need to have anything but just brain with math to understand. He doesn't put them in the best position.
But his math would tell you 18 points is more than 17 points.
And that is absolutely something true. They're both 3 scores.
Correct.
You already had the 3rd score on the board, and you took it off.
Yes, you did.
And again, 8% of the time, coaches do that.
Yeah,
So 92% of the time, coaches say, I could take points off the board, but I think I'll leave them right where they are. There's a reason for that.
Absolutely. I totally understand what you're saying there, John, and I don't disagree. I just don't want us to get caught up on that trust the players thing, because to me, like, Nick Sirianni is a guy who will always laud his players.
Yes, I know.
Always. And that to me is more just saying the reason that I'm so aggressive, and he has been aggressive before this year, and sometimes it's the right time, is because I have faith in these players. I think I have a talented roster. I don't really think it's anything deeper than that. I don't think it's, I put them in the right position, so they got to execute. No,
I don't think he's trying to do that.
No, I don't think he's saying that. That was just the demon in me saying that.
Okay,
but
tell that demon to kick rocks.
No, but what I'm annoyed with is you say in one breath, I'm putting my guys in the best, or in what I believe is the best position in order to succeed, and then it's, I got to trust my guys. So it's, all right, did you actually put them in the best position?
You did not.
Or
You did not.
are you just trusting your guys? Again, it's kind of like the same question. Would you rather him just stick to his beliefs? Is it you believe it's the best position, or are you trusting the guys?
Well,
pick one.
We know the answer. He clearly trusts his guys. There's no debating that Nick Sirianni trusts the players on his team. And there's no debating from an outside perspective that Nick Sirianni is not putting them in best position to be successful. It's very simple. I don't know why we care so much about what the guy says when we know the answer already. And we know that he doesn't know it, or he would have learned.
Because when the guy tells us he's going to learn from his mistakes and doesn't, that's why I care, Connor, what he says.
Yeah, we know
That's
he
why
doesn't.
I care. That's why I care what he says, because he keeps saying he's going to learn, and he doesn't.
Fool me once, shame on you.
No,
If
he's
he
the
keeps...
CEO. No, Connor, wait a minute. He's the CEO of a major corporation.
Yes.
And if a major corporation CEO kept doing what he does, they would be taken out of the office.
Okay.
They would be told, you keep saying you're going to change this. You have to answer to your constituents, answer to your stockholders, your board of directors. It's ridiculous.
Yes, and I would take him out of the office, and I've been very clear on that. Like, I'm on that side, and I've been on that side, and I'm not moving from that side.
Right.
So this is why I'm not going to beat my head against the wall of Nick Sirianni as a bad decision maker all year long, because I know that's what he is. Like, and it's not okay, but it's what we have, and the record is going to keep him here, and we're going to have to deal with it. Maybe he'll figure it out, but I'm not going to hold my breath expecting him to.
All right, let's go to the phones. We have a couple people that have been waiting on hold for a long time.
We appreciate you.
We appreciate you guys. Let's go to Brian in Dallas first. What's up, Brian?
Hey, guys. Hey, John, I'm going to be real quick because you were mentioning earlier, I'm an old guy like you. Oh, no, sorry. I'm a seasoned guy.
We're seasoned.
Like you.
No, we're seasoned. We're stately.
How was Prohibition, guys?
Exactly. So, listen, you made a good analogy about Barry Switzer and Nick Sirianni, but I'm going to give you one even better.
What's that?
All right? And that's the fact of the show. Nick Sirianni he's a guy that, like you said, talent gets him out. And I will put an even better example, and that's George Seifert, the old coach of the 49ers.
The San Francisco 49ers
Exactly.
yes.
Who inherited Walsh's players, Walsh's coordinators, and Walsh's scheme. He was a figure eight. He won 2 Super Bowls with the 49ers. He went to the Carolina Panthers. He won 8-8, 7-9, 1-15. He got fired after that. John Fox took over that Carolina Panther team with the same players, and in 2 years he went back to the Super Bowl. Okay, this is exactly how Sirianni is. When he benefited, when we talk about his record and his winning, he benefited from, we all know, from a great coordinator. If you remove Shane Steichen, and I looked at it myself, if you removed it when Shane Steichen took over the offense until he went to the Colts, Nick Sirianni had an 80% winning percentage. They were 20-5. With him in the beginning of his first season last year, and now he is 20-15. All right, 59% winning percentage. A great coach. We were not sitting here talking about his decision making in critical points of the game.
We're not talking about any other coach in the league like this.
Exactly. A great coach. You're not seeing him do the same dumb things over and over and over again. Like, for example, I watched the game last night. I watched how a wide receiver bubble screen is supposed to be blocked by excellent
Dude,
coach.
the Eagles are the only team in the NFL that can't execute a screen. It's unbelievable. And thanks for the call, Brian. It's unbelievable. Like, they can't execute a screen.
No.
And I'm not blaming Nick Sirianni for it or anybody.
Whoa.
I don't know.
Wait a minute. I don't know.
They're the only team in the world.
Wait a minute. Why are you not?
I don't know.
Wait a minute. He's been here 4 years. We just talk about it. He's had one of the top 5 talent rosters in the NFL
maybe this is
almost
fault.
his entire tenure.
It's just amazing.
How do you not blame that on the head coach?
It's just the only team in the world that can't execute a wide receiver screen, tight end screen, or a halfback screen.
Tell me what Nick Sirianni's gotten better at in his tenure.
Haircuts.
No, he looks like a serial killer with that head cut.
I do believe, and I think Kellen Moore helps out here, the mesh concepts have gotten a lot better this year. There's no offensive pass interference and illegal man downfield every other
there
play.
were, though, earlier. We had a bunch of those.
And
since then, so what you mean, and since he turned the offense over to... you mean until Lane Johnson said, get this man control the offense, not you. Yeah.
Yep, you know how I feel.
I don't think he's improved.
Let's go to Bobby in Conshohocken. What's up, Bobby?
Hey, what's up?
What's up, Bob?
Hey, what's going on, guys? I was just calling in, first-time caller. Basically, let's boil it down to what everything really is. If the Eagles don't win the Super Bowl, is Nick Sirianni their coach next year? And I'm not just talking about making it or, going to the NFC.
If they go to the Super Bowl, he's their coach. If they go to the NFC title game, he's
still their coach, yeah.
If he goes anything less than the NFC title game, I think he will be gone. I really do.
It's just bonehead mistake after bonehead mistake. I mean, you got Robert De Niro there, and if you guys ever seen Casino, he's got to go down to the sideline and tell him, take it easy, Nick. Take it easy. Because all of this decision-making, it's driving me crazy. It's driving me and my girlfriend crazy. I don't understand it because there's no logic.
No,
there is none.
I get it, Bobby, and thanks for
Bobby.
calling, man. Great job for your first call.
Is that Bobby De Niro calling?
Yeah, it was.
I can't, honestly. You know me with my obsession with processes and how when things don't make, when someone cannot explain to me why we're doing something, I can't do it.
Right.
Like I can't. I'm like, okay, why are we doing it this way? Tell me the benefit. What's it? I have to understand processes. He doesn't even do that process in his head.
But to answer his question, look, if they get to the Super Bowl, he's back.
He's back. I think if they go to the NFC title game, he's back.
Because if they go to the NFC title game, they either got the 1 seed and won the playoff game and got to the NFC Championship game, which is a great feat, or they won 2 playoff games in order to get to the NFC Championship game. And one of them may have been on the road.
Yeah, I will applaud him. Yeah. If he gets to an NFC title game,
he's back.
I'm going to say he did exactly what I expected at the beginning of the year.
Now, there's a world, I think, where they can go to the NFC Championship game and he could still get canned.
Really? What would that be?
If you played a team that's not Detroit. Like, let's just say Detroit gets knocked out on the other side of the bracket. And he makes some terrible... Like, he has the game he had Sunday. on the NFC Championship game stage with a team that's clearly superior on paper.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, he'll be gone because Jeffrey Lurie will say, we have a window, and he is
What
clearly
if it's the
closing
Niners?
that window.
What if it's the
there was
Niners? They got healthy. They turned their season around.
There was a Detroit columnist, and his name wasn't Hayes, who, after the NFC title game last year, said, you're not going to win with Dan Campbell. Because of his he had a terrible NFC title.
He had a horrible NFC title.
As far as decision making. And people were like, this guy's going to get us this far, and he's never going to get us over the top. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
The pressure's going to be on.
All right, coming up next, the Jason Kelce apology, John.
Really?
We play that for you next.
It's like me apologizing to my wife.
We play that for you next. And then we got into a conversation about the Manningcast and whether or not you like it. And I said something that blew Connor and John's mind. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Sirianni doubles down. I'm Connor Thomas, and this update's brought to you by Worldwide Stereo.
final hour of Kincade Salciunas is presented to you by The Bagster. It's a dumpster in a bag. You can get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's. You need details? Go to Bagster.com.
It is 9:31 on Kincade Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Real quick, we're going to get to the Jason Kelce apology in a second. We'll get some calls and some texts. But there was an article in the New York Times. Or was it from Matt Gelb? I'm not 100% sure. The article is linked to the New York Times, but our man absolutely hammered. Remember, he had the cat?
Yes.
And
Tony Meatballs.
Yeah, Tony Meatballs.
Tony Meatballs.
Thank you. And they donated and saved Tony Meatballs. He posted a blurb. It says via Matt Gelb, but the article is linked to the New York Times. So I'm not 100% sure if it's The Athletic. Oh, wait, no. The Athletic's bought by New York Times, right?
It's part of the same
So
company.
maybe that's
yes.
why it's NewYorkTimes.com. So Matt Gelb wrote this up. John Middleton, quote, "That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see people reacting in a way like the house is on fire. Not, we got time. Let's go lick our wounds. Let's spend a couple of days off. Let's relax and unwind. Then we'll come back." It was like literally by noon, Dave Dombrowski had 3 major conversations with all these key people, and that's exactly what it should have been. I do like that. They got right back to work.
I'm going to tell you right now, having been around, given a lot of insight into baseball organizations, that's how it always is.
All right.
They always do it, the debrief.
All right, fine.
The day or so after. And then what they do is then they usually walk away for a little while, and then they come back, usually right after Thanksgiving. They do the winter meetings, and then they have the organizational meetings and everything. That's exactly what happens.
Alternate universe. John Middleton says, everybody take a couple weeks off. How would John Kincade react then?
Nothing's changing in the next couple weeks. And more importantly,
you would have been upset.
I think philosophy-wise,
You would have been upset. You would have been like, they're running it back.
They already are. And they're proud of it.
I don't know that.
Yes, I do.
No, they're not making anything. Today's headlines are Connor Thomas.
John Middleton said they're right. John Middleton, his man, Dave Dombrowski, said flat out, they don't see. Dave Dombrowski didn't say anything about major overhaul or major changes or looking at everything.
Well, he wasn't going to say anything bad about his players.
I think they're rolling it back.
He wants to try to trade him.
I got a spoiler alert for you. I don't think they will be. You haven't binge watched yet.
You're right. I have not.
Now there are things that can change my opinion. And as I said, trade 2 of those 3 guys that Connor proposed earlier and shake up this roster and actually make them look like they might have an approach. The fact that you're keeping the batting coach and that philosophy because of the fact that you're holding out hope that you just want to wallet whip Juan Soto to come here, which isn't happening by spoiler alert, not happening. But thanks
for coming back in time. We appreciate you coming. Who won the election?
He's not coming.
Well,
Juan Soto's not coming.
Here's the thing. Castellanos, he's probably not going to get moved because of the contract. The amount of money they would have to eat would not be worth moving a player of that caliber.
I don't think he... See, now I disagree on that because it's $40 million for 2 years. I don't consider him... I think his numbers... There's that website where they tell you what your contract... You put in the stats and it's... whether they're playing above or below the number. Somebody will send it to me.
Oh, I never heard of that.
I've seen it before.
Okay.
It just tells you about how much does these stats translate. It's something about arbitration.
Okay.
Where like arbitration figures. I think that Nick Castellanos plays to probably like a $15 or $16 million player.
If there were 29 other Phillies in Philadelphia, absolutely. But there are a bunch of teams that won't spend that money on a guy because either they're not ready or the teams that will spend that money probably already have a guy.
Great point. Yeah, great point.
So he'll be here, and I don't think they give up on Bohm this early. I think Marsh is the guy that gets moved.
All right.
Then that is just, you know what that's doing? That's going into Total Home Makeover, one of those shows on like HGTV, and saying, okay, we got the paint color, got the furniture, got everything. You know what we're going to do? We're going to change the lamp on that end table.
Is it a nice lamp?
It will change nothing. Moving Brandon Marsh.
Is it a clap-on?
Moving Brandon Marsh changes nothing about this team and says, oh, well, now they're in a much better position to succeed.
It might change it because it's not 600 strikeouts and 600 at-bats.
They're in a much better position to go win a World Series just because you changed a platoon outfielder. That's called window dressing. You have to change something. And I'm telling
95 wins.
Okay,
Maybe all they need is a window
dress. You guys
dress.
can hold on to that, and I'm just going to tell you.
I'm going to see how it plays out before.
No, I will.
Before
I say
going into my time machine.
No, I say it. I'll see how it plays out as far as do they make fundamental changes to this team. I've already seen it 3 Octobers in a row. I know what will be their downfall, and I told you all summer I thought that would be their downfall, and it was. It always is. And they're going to do it for a 4th year?
It always is for 2 years.
No, 3 years it's been why they've exited.
Not counting the Astros one, man.
Well, no, it was a great. The Astros but still, again, you had everything you had them, well, to use Sirianni's words,
by the balls.
You had them by the balls.
By the way, speaking of football, Jerry Jones on The Fan in Dallas said it's likely that Dak Prescott is heading to injured reserve, so you guys know.
Okay, and that was brought up earlier. I don't know if you heard Dan Orlovsky, because on overnights on ESPN, Dan Orlovsky said, if we hear in the morning that Dak's going to injured reserve, he thought then the Cowboys would become sellers and that maybe a Micah Parsons type of thing would be on the table.
If they don't think he's going to resign, then you try to get as much as you possibly can.
I don't think Micah Parsons is resigning. I don't. Because first off, the 2 contracts that they just signed, they chose 2 guys over Micah Parsons. That he was up for contract 2, and they went, nah, we're going this direction.
Well, he's still got 2 years left.
I understand. He's going to, I think they will consider moving him today.
4 o'clock deadline.
If not moving him at the end of the year.
If it doesn't happen, it won't happen probably with the Eagles. But if it did, and the Eagles rolled into Jerry World with Micah Parsons and Saquon Barkley.
Oh, I would love it.
I mean, I wouldn't survive that game.
It's the NFC East Avengers, but like the good players coming to the Eagles.
I don't think Dallas would ever make a deal with
them. No, that's what I'm saying.
The Giants were just stupid enough to let it potentially happen when it was out of their hands.
But let me dream, Johnny.
Yeah, let him
By
dream.
the way, 50 days to Christmas.
Almost there.
I meant to tell you that this morning.
Thank you. All right, here was Jason Kelce yesterday before Bucks Chiefs. They did the Monday night countdown, and Jason Kelce issued, we'll say, a statement on the events that took place Saturday.
Stuff on your mind, and I want to give you the floor to say what's on your mind.
Yeah. Listen, I think everybody's seen on social media everything that took place this week. That's what listen, I'm not happy with anything that took place. I'm not proud of it, and in a heated moment, I chose to greet hate with hate, and I just don't think that that's a productive thing. I really don't. I don't think that it leads to discourse, and it's the right way to go about things. And in that moment, I fell down to a level that I shouldn't have. So I think the bottom line is, I want to live my life. I try to live my life by the golden rule. That's what I've always been taught. I try to treat people with common decency and respect, and I'm going to keep doing that moving forward. Even though I fell short this week, I'm going to do that moving forward and continue to do that. So, I think we got a game to focus on. Obviously, a matchup. I don't think this is the platform to necessarily go into more detail. So let's get ready for this Chiefs game.
Much respect, bro.
So
all respect.
The golden rule, if you remember, is treat others the way you want to be treated. He was treated like crap. His family was treated like crap. So if you were following the golden rule, you treated the guy the way he was treating you.
Well, no, that's eye for an eye. The golden rule is others how you'd like to be treated.
The golden rules treat others like you want to be treated. Yeah,
you got your rules mixed up.
Sometimes I'm an eye for an eye.
I would go give me your Old Testament. You're like Book of Job.
Yeah.
It's Jason Kelce. He has I believe he truly embodies what he says. Like he wants to live that way. I think there's things that Jason Kelce, and this will be real popular, I think there's things he needs to stop doing. Like publicly, there's things because he's in a different role now.
And that's,
if Jason Kelce,
the shame of it.
If Jason Kelce was just retired Jason Kelce, I would say work the parking lot every week, shotgun as many beers as you want to, tear your shirts off at playoff games and do all that stuff. He's looking to have a different career now in a different role, and I don't believe for a second he wanted to offer that apology last night.
Yeah, probably not.
I believe he was told, you are going to offer that apology. We're starting the show with it, and you're doing it because he works for people now.
Well, it'd be weird if he didn't address it.
No, but I don't think that there's no doubt in my mind. Addressing it and apologizing is different.
Well, I'll say this. Expect more on the podcast. Because he said at the end of the clip, hey, we got a game coming up. I don't want to take away from the game.
And I believe management.
And this guy just came out of the NFL, so.
I think management said, you are doing this at the beginning of the show, getting it out of the way.
Yeah, get it out of the way.
You have to apologize. There's things he doesn't need to be doing, But the other day, he was just being harassed.
Yeah.
I mean, he was being harassed.
Yeah, so he went eye for eye.
And part of it felt like, yeah, I didn't mind.
Yeah.
Like, and that's not right. That's not right on my part either to be like, good. That's not right on our part either. We should be better than that.
Good. No,
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Good.
Yeah.
That guy was being a total ass.
Oh, my gosh.
So, you know what?
The minute he pushed
and then
him.
he cried, he broke my phone.
By the way, the minute he
You're an
pushed
ass.
him.
Yeah.
If Jason Kelce, you get pushed, he comes around and swings with a bear.
And he
Oh,
cried
my God.
victim immediately. My phone. Don't walk around screaming homophobic slurs about
and
some
taping
dude's
it.
brother.
And taping it.
Yeah, like, what are you trying to do? I'll get on World Star? Like, what are you doing, dude? All right, coming up
World
next.
Star, you're not that cool. Are you? You hiding that from me?
Man. Coming up next, we got the Kincade Salciunas Key 3 best minutes from today's show right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Watch the show on YouTube right now.
You can listen to the show anywhere via 975thefanatic.com.
If you missed a show, then listen to the on-demand podcast or watch on YouTube.
And of course, we are live.
Tuesday morning, we got the Mike Missanelli Show coming your way at 10 o'clock with Mikey Miss, Bill Colarulo,
and the
Jim
young
Nance.
star. Hello, friends.
Jim Nance, Ray Dunn producing the show. He did a great job yesterday. All jokes aside, he was
Temple basketball,
he was fantastic.
a double shot.
Yes, it was a double shot, and I got to watch my Temple basketball while listening to Ray. It was double shot for me too. It was nice, man.
That's excellent.
All right, it is time now for the Kincade Salciunas Key 3 presented by Von C Brewing.
Now, the Kincade Salciunas Key 3. Today's best.
What we want to do today, as today is a big day, we want to start with positives, okay?
Sure.
Because I think that's something that a lot of people might need on this Tuesday, November the 5th, in the calendar year of 2020.
Let's give it some positives.
Let's start with positives.
Because we both wanted to, as we plan a show, we both wanted to hit on a lot more of these yesterday. It wasn't the top story
Yeah, we
of the day.
couldn't, and that's what sucks, that Nick Sirianni now in 2 wins this season has made the story about himself. So yesterday, it was more Nick Sirianni, not to the level of the Browns game, because the Browns game was not just about coaching decisions, but also personal life decisions of his. But yesterday had a lot to do with his decision making, and it led to a more, not depressing show, but a more contentious show that we didn't want to have, because that game was freaking brilliant by the Philadelphia Eagles. I said it at one point during the show yesterday. I was proud of the 53-man roster on Sunday. Not the coach, but the 53-man roster I was very proud of. So let's start there. You posed a question to me. You sent it to me yesterday, and I love it. And it's whether or not you feel better this year at this time than you did last year. Can you please explain to
Something came up. A emailer had said to me the idea, it sort of gave the question idea. From last year, you kept saying to people, but they're not playing that well, but taking issues with it. And he said, even though you weren't predicting the decline, that they were going to fall all apart, it ended up happening. And he asked me how I feel. So I'm thinking about it on the way home yesterday, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, I feel better about this team at 6-2 than I did last year about the Eagles at 7-1.
I love hearing that.
I feel better because one thing I feel really good about is that I love watching young players get a chance to show what they can do. And I see this year's roster as one of upside. I have an answer on Nakobe Dean yet. I think Nakobe Dean looks like he belongs.
Right.
I have an answer on Nolan Smith. That Nolan Smith looks like he can be a situational piece at worst. That Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis absolutely belong in a starting lineup for a team that can win big in the NFL. I feel better. The draft picks coming in and playing in the secondary. I feel better about the coordinators that are here. So even though the record is worse by 1 game, I feel far better about this team than I did last year.
Sixers played their first game of the Paul George era last night.
How was that? I got to see some of it.
Dude, it was a riveting game against the Phoenix Suns, who are still a good basketball team. Tyrese Maxey was spectacular, and here's my biggest takeaway on that, John. The shot at the end from Paul George was very disappointing, and I hated the look that he took. But Paul George's impact already makes Tyrese Maxey better.
He does not understand clock management and the score. He didn't understand going up 3 scores by halftime, and he doesn't understand going up by 2 scores in the 4th quarter with 7 minutes to go. I don't understand the man, and I don't understand why it's so hard for him to just say, yeah, my bad. My bad on this one.
For the Philadelphia Inquirer, Inquirer.com, that, of course, is Jeff McLane. Jeff, good morning. How you doing today?
Obviously, been plenty of times when he's been aggressive, and it's panned out for him, and we have to point out those times as well, because that's been Nick's MO throughout his tenure as the head coach. So I don't see anything greatly, I didn't see anything was terribly wrong with it.
I've watched Saquon Barkley be the best player in the world and do something that I've never seen in my life with that backwards hurdle, and that I don't think that was some sort of anomaly. Like, Saquon Barkley's probably going to run for over 100 yards this weekend, too.
Saquon Barkley, in the next 2 weeks, is probably going to eclipse DeAndre Swift.
3 scores is 3 scores. You allow them to have momentum. You allow them to come out in the second half down 2 scores as opposed to 3 scores. And that is a major, major difference, no matter whether it's 17 points or 18 points. 3 scores is 3 scores. And the fact that he sits there and says, I would do the same thing all over again, is dumb. If I can think back hard enough and forget about everything that transpired, I would probably say I felt better this time last year than I do this year. However, I think this team has more of an upside than last year's team, and it goes back to what we've been saying since week one, that the defense has it. The defense has upside. All right, that's the Kincade Salciunas Key 3. Three best minutes from today's show, presented by Von C. Brewing Company in Norristown, where you can check out their Key 3, the Stony Creek East Coast IPA, which is an American IPA with citrusy hop notes and a smooth, dry finish. The Uncle Jerry's Wit, which is a Belgian-style wheat beer. How come we don't get any Belgian accents out of John? We only get German John.
I don't know what the Belgian accent
German
is.
John is a lot more authentic. Like the Helles Golden Lager, the Munich-style beer with all German ingredients. Go visit Von C. in Norristown. Go to VonCBrewing.com. Dunkov.
Yes. Sorry. Another
that.
trade in the NFL. This is a weird one.
What?
Cowboys are getting Jonathan Mingo, wide receiver from the Panthers.
Well, they need one. That means.
Well, I don't know if that means.
That means they're worried about CeeDee Lamb. That means they're worried about CeeDee Lamb.
How many?
They're going for,
what's his contract?
I don't know. They're worried about CeeDee Lamb, though.
I don't think Jonathan Mingo is a replacement for CeeDee Lamb.
No, they need a wide receiver. They're adding a wide receiver.
He's
to
under
the wide receiver.
No, it's actually a decent move because he's under contract for 2 more seasons after this.
I don't think he's bad.
No, I was just wondering, like, why are they buyers? But they're going to have him under contract for 2 more years.
You can keep him around a little bit if you.
Yeah,
you
decent
do that,
trade for the Cowboys.
It's nice to see all this activity on a very important Tuesday.
Yes,
very good. So,
real quick before we get out of here, I blew John and Connor's mind earlier today because I told them I've never watched a second of the Manningcast live. Only the clips they posted on social media.
Connor and I were both a little shocked because, honestly, Connor, I said I think it's a little bit like Andrew's content, like stuff that you'd enjoy.
There's cool stuff on there, man.
I like just watching a game.
Right, but the fact, that's fine. You could not like it, but the fact that you've never checked it out is insane to me.
Well, because it's very much like the coaches thing on the national championship game.
No, it's not. It really isn't.
It isn't at all, dude.
It isn't. It's like a talk show with a game going on.
Yeah.
It's not bad. I'm telling you.
I just watched.
If you gave it a little shot, I think you don't watch because of Eli.
No, I just watched the game.
I
don't get people. There's a new phenomenon where people watch people live streaming, watching themselves watch a game.
Yeah.
Well, that's stupid.
I think it's dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
but they're
there's
not Hall of Fame quarterbacks, dude.
Who's the rapper that is a big Eagles fan? He wears the big hat.
Oh, Gilly?
Gilly.
Yeah.
People watch him. And, like, cool. He's funny. But, like, I want to watch the Eagles game.
There you go.
I don't get it. Go ahead, John.
Hey, support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partner, Pierce Phelps Bryan Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Make a donation today to the AACR, the American Association for Cancer Research. Do it at 975thefanatic.com/AACR. Cancer research saves lives.
I'm not anti-Gilly. I just want to watch the game. I just want to watch the game.
Yeah, I would hate cool Hall of Fame quarterback stories while I'm watching football.
You brought up World Star earlier. That's much cooler than I thought you were.
Listen, man, I'm hip. Ask
you really
Ray
are.
Dunn. I used to say that all the time.
You're going to need a new hip.
hip.
All right, the Mike Missanelli Show is coming away next. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning on a Wednesday, a Sports Wednesday, Johnny. 97.5 The Fanatic.